Hey guys. This is part 2 of What If Naruto Was in Rosario Vampire. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are pain, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 5. As you know, the Academy's goal is to teach you how to better adapt to human society. Because of that, you will all be participating in club activities. After all, what better way to fit in with humans than by doing human-made activities? Nikanome announced. Club activities? I wonder what kind of clubs are here. Sukun thought to himself. Suddenly images depicting the different kind of clubs at a monster school could have flashed through his mind, causing him to shiver. Please, if there's a god out there will be something normal and not dangerous for me to join, the human thought nervously. Because of this, you will spend the school day looking for a club that interests you the most. So go out and find a club that you would like to join. Also, don't forget to check out the newspaper club. I'm the advisor, Nikanome said as the students began to leave the room in search of a club. Sukun, won't this be fun? Omote asked as she reached her human friend with Yura by her side. I'm sure it will be, Omote-san, Sukun answered. This seems like a complete waste of time if you ask me, Yura said with a roll of her eyes. Oh, come on, Yura-chan. I'm sure that this will be a lot of fun, Omote said brightly. You never know, Yura-san. You might just find something you like, Sukun pointed out. TCH. I highly doubt it, Yura said as she crossed her arms looking bored. She looked around and noticed someone missing from their little group. Where is Uzumaki? She asked. She wasn't really paying much attention during homeroom, so she did not notice Naruto's absence until now. Naruto? He never showed up to homeroom. I'm not sure why though, Sukun answered. Is that why you don't want to look at the clubs? Because you miss Naruto? Omote asked innocently but laughed inwardly when she saw her sister blush. Of course not. I just find it unfair that he gets to avoid this while I have to suffer, Yura denied. She did not know why her sister would ask that. How could she miss the blonde? Maybe miss that he always finds a way to annoy me, she mentally scoffed. Well, we should just look around and see if we can find anything interesting. Maybe we'll see Naruto around, and if not, we'll go look for him, Sukun suggested. Alright then, let's go. Omote cheered as she grabbed Sukun's arm and dragged him out of the classroom with Yura reluctantly following them. With Naruto. Oh man, I can't believe I overslept. Why didn't you wake me up, Kurama? Naruto cried as he ran towards the school, uniform disheveled. Are you kidding me? I did try, but you wouldn't budge. I don't know what the hell you were dreaming, but it must have been pretty damn good if you could sleep through me yelling in your mind, the demon fox said through their mental link. It was a pretty good dream. I was still a shinobi, but instead of getting paid with money, I got paid with ramen, Naruto said with a bit of drool escaping from his mouth. Only you would want to live in a world where their form of currency is ramen, Kurama deadpanned. Sometimes he just couldn't believe his container. Whatever, you just don't understand the joy that ramen can bring, Naruto said as he reached his homeroom door. Sorry I'm late, Naruto immediately said as he bowed to his teacher. Naruto-san? What are you doing here? He heard his teacher ask in a confused tone. He looked up to see that he and Nikanome were the only ones in the classroom. Where is everyone? Is it the weekend? Naruto asked, wondering why the classroom was empty. No, today the students are walking around the campus looking for a club to join, Nikanome explained. Oh. Sorry about rushing in then. Guess I'll go look around, Naruto said as he was about to leave, but Nikanome grabbed his arm, stopping him from leaving. Before you leave, would you like to learn about the newspaper club? She asked with a smile. No one has visited her about her club yet, and although Naruto came here by accident, she would take what she could get. Newspaper club? He repeated, looking at her curiously. Yes, you would write about different things going on at the school. It involves interviewing and investigating different people and events, she explained. Naruto thought about it, and if he were honest, it wasn't entirely interested. Nothing against the teacher, but he always preferred to do something that involved more action. When he was about to gently turn down her offer, he paused. By investigating and interviewing for the club along with a little stealth on his part meant he might be able to find some good blackmail material on others. It also meant he could walk around the school and learn about its layouts for pranks without raising suspicion. It may not have much action, but there was definitely some potential for some fun. Plus, the newspaper club might be a good way to gain information, and in the ninja world, information was the most dangerous weapon anyone could ever wield when used properly. You know what, Sensei? I think I will join, Naruto said with a fox-like grin. Really? That's great, she cheered. Our first meeting will be tomorrow after school. Got it. Would you mind if I walk around just to look at some of the clubs? He asked. He made his choice, and he would keep his word, but he was still curious about what other clubs that could be around. Oh no, go right ahead. And if you see anyone who might be interested, see if they'll join, she said with a smile, happy that someone has finally joined her club. No problem, Sensei, Naruto said as he left the classroom. He walked down the hall and was surprised to see how lively it was. There were booths for the different clubs, and judging by the amount of different booths, there was a club for just about everything. I wonder what the others are doing, Naruto mused to himself until he heard the sound of a girl screaming. He looked around and saw a familiar girl in a witch hat running away from a group of students. Stay away from me, you weirdos, Yukari shouted as she tried to get away from them. Please don't run away from us, Yukari-san, one of the students shouted. All we want is to offer you an invitation to join our club, another student added. Please join us, a third student cried, but Yukari paid no attention to it. Stop following me, she shouted, desperate to get away. She looked around and saw a familiar head of blonde hair. Naruto, please help me, she cried as she ran towards him. What's going on, Yukari-chan? Naruto asked, confused as the little witch hid behind his leg. Naruto, please help. Make them go away, she pleaded as she pointed towards the group of students who were now standing in front of them. Excuse us, but could you please step aside? We need to speak with Yukari-san, one of the students asked. Just what are you going to talk to her about? Naruto asked with a raised brow. We are just trying to convince her to join our club, another student explained. Judging by the way she ran away from you, I'm wondering what kind of club it is, Naruto responded as he crossed his arms over his chest. It's a Lilicon club, Yukari shouted as she pointed an accusing finger at the group. Hearing this caused Naruto's eye to twitch as he stared at the group of students who looked like a couple of kids who got caught stealing from the cookie jar. Is that true? He asked deadpanned. Well, we wouldn't exactly use that word, one of the students said nervously as the twitch on Naruto's eye increased. Get the fuck away from her, he shouted, scaring the group who ran away from the blonde. After all, they heard rumors that he took on Saizu and they did not want to get on his bad side. Thank you, Yukari said as she released a sigh of relief. Don't mention it, Yukari-chan, Naruto said with a grin. Find any club to join yet? No, I'm still looking. What about you? The witch asked as the two of them walked through the crowd of students. I just joined the newspaper club, but I decided to look around a bit, Naruto answered as he rested his hands behind his head. Newspaper club, huh? That sounds interesting. Maybe I'll join if I can't anything else, Yukari said as she tapped a finger to her chin in thought. The two of them continued to walk around making some small talk until Yukari saw something that caught her eye. Hey Naruto, I'm going to go over there for a while, okay? She said as she pointed towards a sign that said Magic Club. That's fine. I'll just walk around some more, Naruto said. Okay, I'll see you later and thanks again for earlier, she said as she waved goodbye and headed towards the Magic Club. Naruto continued to walk around, but since he had none of his friends to talk to, he soon found himself bored. This was interesting at first, but now I'm so bored, he sighed as he looked around. He hadn't seen any of his friends other than Yukari. Maybe I can find some kind of ramen appreciation club, he thought aloud. Only you would think about joining a club dedicated to ramen, he heard a familiar voice say. He turned around to see a familiar silver-haired vampire. Yura-chan! He cried as he lunged towards the girl. He surprised her when he suddenly wrapped his arms around her for a tight hug. I'm so happy to see you! I thought I was going to die from boredom, he continued. Yura was blushing hard from the sudden hug, unable to think straight. No one but a few of her family members has ever hugged her before. Regaining her composure, she narrowed her eyes and hit him across the head, sending him crashing to the ground. Oh! Yura-chan, that was mean. Naruto whined as he nursed the bump that formed on his head. It's your own fault. I do not remember giving you permission to hug me. She shot back, but a blush could still be seen on her face. So what do I owe the pleasure of your company? Where are the others? Naruto asked curiously as he stood up straight and dusted himself. We started off just looking around with the normal group of idiots worshipping the ground that my sister and I walk on, she said, earning a snicker from Naruto. Omote let her excitement get the better of her and ran off, and with Tsukun's infatuation with her he followed her. I see no point in these clubs, so I decided to walk around myself. I see. Well, look on the bright side, Naruto said positively. There's a bright side? Yura asked incredulously. Yep. Now you get to spend the rest of your day with me, he said with a grin. I thought you said there was a bright side, Yura said with a straight face. Why do you have to be so cruel? Naruto sulked. Hey kid, not that I don't enjoy watching you flirt with the hot vampire chick, but maybe you should look for the other vampire and the human. He heard the demonic voice of Kurama say, causing him to blush. Shut up, you stupid fox. I'm not flirting. Sure you're not, the fox said with a roll of his eyes. Why should I look for the other two anyway? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because there's a weak human in the middle of a school of monsters, and with your luck something is bound to happen sooner or later, Kurama said sarcastically. Hey! My luck isn't that bad, is it? He asked, but was greeted with a moment of silence. Do you really want me to answer that? No, Naruto said with his head hung down low. During his mental conversation, Yura was looking at him strangely. For some reason his face went through a series of emotions, from shock to embarrassment to questioning and then depression. She was starting to question the sanity of her blonde-haired companion. You think we should look for the others? He asked. Yura thought about it for a moment before nodding. Yes, I'm sure that Omote will get herself in trouble and Tsukun will be too ignorant to realize it, Yura stated as the two of them began their search. I'm glad that you have so much faith in them, Naruto said as his sweat dropped at her response. You've met them, haven't you? Omote is too kind, it's going to get her in trouble on day, and as for Tsukun, the boy is too naive sometimes, Yura explained. Naruto thought about it, and he had to agree with her. Okay, I see your point. Better find them before something happens, Naruto said. They spent about the next hour looking for the other vampire and human but had no luck. Where are they? Yura asked impatiently. Not only has she been unable to find them, but every weirdo has practically begged her to join their club. She refused every time, but she was very close to killing someone. In fact, she would have killed the student from the photography club that asked her to be a nude model, but Naruto was able to drag her away before she could unleash her wrath on the poor boy. Naruto watched as the vampire began to lose her patience. Honestly, though, he was getting pretty annoyed too. Where on earth could those two have gone? He looked around to see if there was any place he missed when he saw a sign. It was a sign that promoted the swimming club at the school pool. What about the swimming club? We haven't looked there yet, Naruto suggested, but Yura just scoffed. There's no way they'd be at the swimming club, she dismissed without a glance. Why would you say that? Naruto asked curiously. Because we vampires are weak against water. They drain the energy right out of our bodies, Yura explained. Really? What a shame, I would have loved to see you in a swimsuit, Naruto said with a smirk as he watched her blush. Damn pervert! She shouted as she went to punch him, but a snickering Naruto was able to avoid it. He held his head up in defense. Okay, sorry, I just couldn't resist. Anyway, does Tsukun know about this? Naruto asked as she regained her composure. I highly doubt it unless Omote has told him, but I don't think she has, Yura answered, looking through the crowd trying to find them. Naruto, on the other hand, grew silent as he began to think. Most likely Tsukun had no idea about a vampire's weakness to water. It was also obvious that he had some kind of crush on the pink-haired girl. He would obviously want to do something fun with the girl. Omote was also a very kind girl. She didn't have the heart to turn down her friends, so if Tsukun suggested it, there would be a good chance that she would follow along despite her weaknesses just so she could be with the boy. The only question left: is there anything Tsukun would want at the swimming club? Girl you're crushing on plus school swimming pool equals girl you're crushing on wearing a swimsuit. Come on, Yuri-chan, we're going to the swimming club, Naruto announced as he grabbed her arm and headed towards the pool. I already told you that we vampires are weak against water. Why would Omote go there? Yura asked, not liking the fact that she was being dragged. Just trust me on this, Naruto said as they headed towards their destination. School pool. How did you know they would be here? Yura asked as she watched Tsukun swim with an attractive upperclassman while Omote sat down on one of the bleachers with a downcast expression. No matter how nice Tsukun is, he is still a teenage boy, Naruto answered as they made their way towards Omote. Once they got loser, they were able to spot a tick mark on Omote's head that only got bigger the more she watched the upperclassman flirt with the flustered Tsukun. How's it going, Omote-chan? Naruto asked, announcing his presence. The pink-haired girl looked up and smiled when she saw them. Naruto, Yura-chan, you're here, she said in a bright tone. You see, Yura-chan, she's happy when she sees me. Why can't you be like that when you see me instead of acting all sarcastic and stuff? Naruto asked with a pout. Because unlike my sister, I do not have the patience to deal with an idiot, she deadpanned as Naruto clutched his heart in an overdramatic gesture. Your words hurt so much. I don't think I can continue on with this life, Naruto said as Omote laughed at their antics. She was sad because Tsukun chose to swim while she couldn't get near the water, and she was getting very lonely. Hey Naruto, why weren't you at homeroom this morning? Omote asked, wondering what happened to him. Although she wouldn't admit it, Yura was curious as well. Huh? Oh, I overslept. I was having this really great dream where instead of money people paid me with ramen, Naruto said as he began to drool thinking about his dream and what a great world it was. His answer only caused the girls to sweat drop. Well, now that we have discovered that ramen is the only thing you think about, what are you doing here, Omote? Yura asked as she looked at her sister expectantly. What are you talking about, Yura-chan? She asked, not meeting her eyes. I mean, why are you near something like a pool when you know water can cause you great harm? She asked, the look in her eyes causing Omote to shrink back. Well, Tsukun really seemed interested in the swimming club. I tried to convince him to leave, but then those girls dragged him into the pool, she explained with a frown. That's no excuse. You know how dangerous water is for us. Do not do something just because Tsukun wants to, Yura scolded. Hold up, Yura-chan, you're making it sound like Tsukun's the bad guy. He doesn't even know about vampires and water, Naruto pointed out, only to be on the receiving end of a glare. I do not care. I will not let my sister get hurt just because the human is ignorant. Perhaps he should be more observant and notice that Omote had not joined him in the pool yet. But no, instead he chooses to flirt with some other girl while leaving Omote here by herself, Yura ranted. Hey, don't yell at me. Tsukun's the bad guy, remember? Naruto cried, not wanting to be on the receiving end of her female wrath. No one's the bad guy. It's not Tsukun's fault, Omote said, trying to calm her sister down. After a few seconds, Yura finally settled down. Whatever, we should leave before something happens, Yura said as she turned towards the door. But what about Tsukun? Omote asked, not wanting to leave him alone. If the boy wants to swim, let him. Like I said, you shouldn't risk your health just because he wants to be here, her sister answered as if it were obvious. Relax, Omote-chan, chances are he'll join us after a bit of swimming. But Yura-chan is right. We better get you two away from this pool before something happens, Naruto added. Omote was about to protest, but she decided to give in. After all, they both had some good points. Okay then. Maybe we can find some other club, she finally said, although she still didn't like the idea of leaving Tsukun alone. As they were about to leave, Sukun was able to escape from the swim club members before he reached the edge of the pool. "Hey guys, where are you going?" he asked as he noticed they looked like they were about to leave. "The girls aren't really fond of swimming. You looked like you were enjoying yourself, so we thought we'd let you enjoy yourself a bit while we looked for something else to do," Naruto explained. "Oh really? I was hoping that we could all swim together," Sukun said with a frown while Naruto smirked. He crouched down and spoke so softly that only Sukun could hear him. "Are you sure it didn't have anything to do with seeing Omo-chan in a swimsuit?" he whispered, causing Tsukun's face to burn red with embarrassment. "Of course not," he denied with a flushed face. He figured it out. He thought to himself as Naruto stood up straight, the girls wondering what he said to get Tsukun so flustered. "If you guys aren't interested in joining, I guess there's no point. It's not really much fun doing this without my friends," Tsukun said as he was about to get out of the pool. Before he could leave, a pair of arms wrapped around him, pulling him back in. "Where are you going, Tsukun?" a female voice said. The group looked to see a girl with long turquoise hair. "Tamao-senpai," Tsukun said, startled. "Why are you leaving?" she asked with a pout that caused the human to blush, much to Omo's annoyance. "Oh well, I wanted to join a club with my friends, but they aren't really interested in swimming," he explained, causing her to frown. "How would they now that if they haven't even entered the pool?" she asked as she snapped her fingers. Out of nowhere, 2 more members appeared and grabbed Naruto by his arms. "What the hell?" the blonde asked, surprised. "Girls, if you would, please give him some proper swimwear. If he actually takes a dip with us, he might be willing to join," Tamao suggested. "Hi," both girls said as they began their work. Naruto tried to struggle from their grasp but failed as a cloud of smoke surrounded him. The group watched as articles of clothing flew from the smoke cloud, followed by high-pitched screaming. "What are you doing? No, stop that. That was my best shirt. Don't touch me there," they heard him shout in a panicked tone, causing them to sweat drop. Once the smoke cleared, the girls blushed furiously. There stood Naruto in nothing but a pair of orange swimming trunks. He was very physically fit for someone his age, and while he wasn't overly bulky, you could definitely see muscles on his body. However, what really caught their attention, especially Yura's, was the fist-sized scar that was on the right side of his chest. How on earth did he get a scar like that? It looks like someone punched a hole right through him, Yura thought curiously. Naruto did not notice the attention he was drawing to himself from the female students. He clutched his arms and was visibly shivering. "I don't think I've ever felt so violated before," he said, causing them to sweat drop again. "Now that he's ready, why don't we give him a hand?" Tamao said, causing the other 2 members to nod. "On it!" they chanted before pushing the unsuspecting blonde into the pool. "What have I ever done to deserve this kind of treatment?" he shouted before he hit the water with a splash. He quickly emerged, coughing up water before glaring at the members. "What the hell was that for?" he shouted. "What? We just wanted to swim with you," Tamao said innocently. "That doesn't mean you have the right to strip me or push me in," he shot back. "You're stressed. I'm sure a relaxing swim with us will calm you down," she reasoned as 2 more members appeared and wrapped their arms around both of his. "Where the hell do these girls keep coming from?" he shouted as they pulled him underwater, trying to get him to swim. When they emerged, they were surprised to see them holding another male student who had a dreamy expression from being held by 2 girls. "Glad I was able to escape," they heard a voice say. They looked to the side to see Naruto climbing over the edge and leaving the pool. "Thank God I did that emergency underwater substitution. These girls are crazy," he thought to himself as he walked back towards the vampires, careful not to touch them while he was still wet. "How did you do that?" Tamao asked, surprised. "How on earth did he escape them underwater? That should be impossible," she thought as she narrowed her eyes at the blonde. "Do what?" Naruto asked, feigning innocence. "Anyway, like I was saying, I'm sorry, Tamao-senpai, but I don't think the swimming club is for me," Tsukun said as he tried to get free from her grasp, but she wouldn't have any of that. "Earlier it was obvious that you wanted to swim. Why did you suddenly change your mind? Is it because of them?" the turquoise-haired girl asked as she looked at Omote and Yura. I just want to hang out with my friends. It's no one's fault that they don't like swimming, Sukun answered. I just don't understand. If you want to swim, then swim, but if you don't, you have no reason to be here, she said as she splashed some water at the two girls. Not expecting the sudden action, the girls were too late to avoid the water. Once it made contact, they screamed in pain as sparks surrounded their body. What happened? A worried Sukun shouted. He was about to check on the two girls when he heard someone else scream. He turned around, his eyes widened in shock. Two swim club members bit one of the male students in the pool. Right before his eyes, Sukun watched as the boy began to age at a rapid rate until he resembled an old man. What the hell just happened? Naruto asked as he saw the whole thing. I hope you don't think too badly of us, they heard Tamao say, and they were shocked to see a fish tail where her legs should be. Luring men into water and sucking their life force is just the way me mermaids live. Mermaids? Oh no, they have us trapped in the pool. Sukun though worriedly as he watched the other members transform into mermaids. He tried to get away, but Tamao cut him off. Where are you going, Sukun? She asked as she started to circle him. I've had my eyes on you for a while. Well, both you and Naruto. You two have the most delicious scent. If I had to guess, I'd say it was that of a human, she said as she got closer to Tsukun, who was looking very nervous. Let go of him, Omote shouted as she got back up on shaky legs. Such a nuisance. What are you going to do? You can't even touch the water, let alone reach me here, Tamao taunted. Omote-san can't touch water? Sukun thought, surprised. Was that why she wouldn't swim with him? That's some big talk coming from a lousy fish. Yura shot back as she stood by her sister before she did something stupid. You two are starting to get on my nerves, Tamao said with a frown before she swung her tail, creating a large wave. Acting on instincts, Yura quickly pushed Omote out of the way but couldn't escape herself. Yura-chan! Omote screamed wide-eyed as she watched her sister scream in pain, sparks of electricity shocking her body before she collapsed onto the ground. The mighty vampire race succumbs to a little water, how pathetic, the mermaid said with a smirk. Now where were we, Tsukun? She asked as she turned to the boy only to find him missing. Yahoo, looks like I came right on time to save you, hut Tsukun-kun, they heard from a cheery voice above. They looked and saw a flying Kuruma carrying Tsukun through the air. Kuruma-san, what are you doing here? Tsukun asked nervously. He was not used to flying unless he was in an airplane. I came to help my destined one, of course, she declared proudly before she frowned. Thank you, he said, relieved, before looking at an immobile Yura who was lying on the ground with the occasional sparks flying from her wet clothes, glaring at the mermaid. Is it my fault that Yura-san is in such a condition? Because I didn't notice how uncomfortable Omote-san must have been around the pool, he thought guiltily. Just wait until I get my hands on you, Yura growled as she tried to get up. She didn't notice Naruto walk up to her until he picked her up bridal style. What the hell are you doing, Uzumaki? She shouted with pink-stained cheeks. Relax, Yura-chan, I'll handle this. The water already drained a lot of your energy. We don't want you to get hurt even more, Naruto advised. I am not some damsel in distress. I do not need you to fight for me. I am perfectly capable of fighting my own battles, she yelled, ignoring his advice. Naruto just rolled his eyes. Sometimes she was too stubborn for his own good. Omo-chan, stay here with Yura-chan. Hopefully this is far enough from the water, Naruto said as he sat the silver-haired vampire down on one of the benches. I told you I do not need you to fight for me, she shouted in annoyance as Omote appeared next to her sister. Naruto, who was heading for the pool, paused and looked over his shoulder at the girl. I am perfectly aware that you can fight for yourself, but Tamao made a big mistake, and if I don't blow off some steam I might do something I'll regret, he told her before looking at the mermaid, who was looking at him with a cocky smirk. And what mistake did I make? She asked in a condescending tone. You hurt my friend, the blonde growled as he unleashed his killing intent, causing the mermaids to freeze in fear. I'll destroy you. How are you going to do that? You can't even reach us here in the water, one of the mermaids said, trying to brush off his threat. Naruto just looked at them and smirked. Then in a blink of an eye he vanished and reappeared in front of the mermaid who spoke, delivering a harsh kick to her face, sending her flying. You might have been able to get one of us, but now you're stuck here in our territory. We mermaids are unbeatable in the water. Tamao boasted, but her and everyone's eyes widened in shock when they saw Naruto calmly standing on top of the water. Maybe I wouldn't be able to fight you in water, so I'll guess I'll have to fight on it instead, he said with a grin. That's impossible. What are you? Tamao shouted in surprise. Naruto looked at her and his pupils turned into slits. I'm the guys whose friend you hurt, he said as he ran on the water towards the mermaids. It doesn't matter if you can walk on water. You still won't be able to stop us. Get him, girls, she shouted as the mermaids charged. They have me outnumbered and I want to keep my shadow clone technique a secret for as long as I can. Naruto, though, as he ducked down to avoid one of the mermaids who jumped at him. He grabbed her tail, swung her around, and threw at another two girls. You're going to have to do better than that if you want to get me, Naruto taunted as he sidestepped away from another strike and delivered a blow to the stomach, knocking the mermaid out. Stop playing around. Get him, Tamao shouted as her and a group of mermaids surrounded the blonde before leaping at him. Seeing no room to dodge them, Naruto released the chakra gathered around his feet, causing him to sink down. With the blonde no longer in their path, the mermaids crashed into each other before falling underwater. Seeing this, Naruto raised his arm and began the first two stages of the Rasengan, but instead of using his chakra to force the water in multiple directions, he had it flow in a single direction. That, combined with the amount of chakra he put into it, he was able to create an underwater cyclone that swallowed the mermaids. From the outside, the others looked at the surface of the pool, trying to figure out what was happening. What do you think is happening? Sukun asked, worried about his friend. I don't know. I wish there was something we could do to help, Omote said with a frown. Beating a mermaid underwater is nearly impossible, and he has to fight more than one, Kuruma added. The fool wanted to fight, so let him. It's his own fault for getting himself into that situation, Yura said from her position on the bench. She was getting very annoyed. With all the water that hit her, she felt very fatigued. Not only that, but she was worried about Naruto even if she didn't want to be. Suddenly the surface of the pool water began to move around. It started as small movements, but the speed soon increased. Pretty soon they were staring at what could only be described as a whirlpool. Then the remaining mermaids were sent flying from the pool, where they crashed onto the ground away from the water, where they were less dangerous. After that the whirlpool began to disperse, and soon after Naruto came up and swam to the edge of the pool where he could climb out. Naruto, you're okay, Omote said cheerfully. If he wasn't so wet, she would have ran over and hugged the blonde in joy. Please! Did you think I'd lose to a couple of fishies? Naruto asked with a grin as he channeled his fire chakra to dry himself off. Where did that whirlpool come from? Kuruma asked with a curious expression. Sorry, but a magician never reveals his secrets, Naruto answered with a shrug, causing her to pout. Naruto laughed at her antics before glancing at Yura, and he frowned. It looked like she would pass out any moment. You okay, Yura-chan? You look pretty worn out, Naruto asked as he walked over to it. It will take more than some water to finish me off, she scoffed, trying to hide the discomfort she was in. Of course, he said as he shook his head. Without warning, he picked her up bridal style. What are you doing? Unhand me this minute, she shouted as she felt her cheeks heat up. You guys run ahead. I'm going to take our little stubborn vampire here to the infirmary to make sure she's okay, Naruto said as he carried her out of the pool. I am not stubborn, they heard her shout before they were out of sight. Naruto must be pretty brave to act like that around Yura. I'm surprised she hasn't killed him yet, Kuruma said nervously. She didn't forget the fight she had with her, and how she easily overpowered her. Yura-san can be a bit scary at times, Sukun agreed. He was terrified of the silver-haired vampire. I don't know. I think it's nice that Yura has a friend like Naruto, Omote said with a smile. Well, I guess we better leave before they wake up, Sukun suggested as he glanced at the unconscious mermaids. The two girls also looked at them and nodded before leaving the pool. The next day. I'm really sorry about yesterday, Omote-san, Sukun said as he walked to class alongside Omote. For what? She asked with a confused frown. About yesterday. I was so preoccupied with having fun that I completely ignored you. It's pretty much my fault that this happened. If I had noticed how uncomfortable you were, we could have left before those mermaids attacked us. He explained in a dejected tone. Don't worry about it, Sukun, it's not your fault. Omote tried to reassure, but he just shook his head. How can you not be mad? It's because of me that you and Yura got hurt, he said, blaming himself. No, it wasn't. It was because of Tamao-senpai and the other mermaids. You can't blame yourself, Tsukun. I never told you about our weakness to water. It was an honest mistake, Omote said, trying to comfort him. Maybe, but, he started but was interrupted by a sudden hug from the vampire. Just let it go, Tsukun. It's over and we can all just leave it behind us, she said as she pulled back from the hug, a bright smile on her face. Tsukun just nodded as he blushed. Okay, thank you, Omote-san, he said with a small smile, feeling better. No problem, she said brightly. Just who I was looking for, Nikanome said as she suddenly appeared by the two students. Sensei? The two of them asked, wondering what their teacher wanted with them. I needed to talk to you too. It's come to my attention that you have not joined a club yet, the cat-like teacher explained. Oh, well, you see, we sort of ran into some problems, Tsukun said, trying to figure out how to explain that a group of mermaids tried to suck their life force. We're sorry, Sensei, Omote added, hoping they weren't in trouble. It's alright. The reason I'm here is to see if you would be interested in joining the newspaper club. So far only Naruto has joined, she said, surprising them. Naruto joined? Tsukun asked, not expecting that. Yes, he did. What about you two, are you interested? Nikanome asked expectantly. The two students looked at each other before smiling. Hi! It sounds like fun, Omote said excitingly. We would love to join, Tsukun added when Kurumu appeared out of nowhere. I'm joining too, Sensei, the succubus chirped with a smile. Kurumu-chan? What are you doing here? Omote asked, wondering where she came from. I'm always where my destined one is, she said as she wrapped her arms around Tsukun's, causing Omote to grow a tick mark. Let go of him, Kurumu-chan, Omote said as she grabbed Tsukun's other arm. The two looked over him and glared at each other, sparks of lightning emitting between them. Tsukun laughed nervously before he noticed something. Hey, Omote-san, where's Yura-san? Tsukun asked. Omote stopped glaring at Kurumu and turned to Tsukun. She's still a little worn out from yesterday. She got hit by a lot more water than I did. All she needs is a little rest, and she'll be good as new, she answered. When do you think she'll be better? Kurumu asked curiously. She'll probably be up and running later on today, Omote said, earning a nod from the other two. Naruto isn't here either, Kurumu pointed out. You're right. I wonder where he could be, Tsukun thought aloud, getting shrugs from the other. I'm sure he'll show up sooner or later, Omote said as they went to class, the two girls pulling on Tsukun's arm, trying to get the other girl away from him, while said boy cried anime tears. Yura's room. Yura was lying on her bed recovering from the other day. The reason why she was currently bedridden was because of yesterday's events. Speaking of yesterday's events, they were the only thing on her mind at the moment. More specifically, it was Naruto that she was thinking about. She was wondering about the strange things he did yesterday. She never heard of anyone being able to stand on water, let alone a human, and there was also that thing with the whirlpool. Since Naruto was unaffected by it, she could only assume he created it, but how? Even when he's not here, he finds a way to annoy me, she grumbled as she felt a headache coming from all her thinking. A sudden knocking on her door snapped her out of her thoughts. She watched as the door opened and Naruto walked into her room with a large smile on his face. It's like he knows when someone is thinking of him, she thought. How you doing, Yura-chan? He asked as he took a seat next to her. I was doing well, but then you appeared, she said, causing his shoulders to slump. So cruel, he muttered as she rolled her eyes at his antics. Why are you here, Uzumaki? Don't you have class to attend to? she asked as she raised a delicate eyebrow. You expect me to go to class when one of my dearest friends is feeling unwell? He asked as he took an overdramatic pose. Meaning you saw this as an opportunity to skip class? She bluntly said, causing him to sweat drop. Of course not. I was worried about my darling Yuri-chan, he said as he received a harsh glare that even made Kurama a little nervous from where he was watching in Naruto's mind. If you ever call me your darling Yuri-chan again, I will make sure you will never be able to reproduce, she threatened as Naruto paled before nodding rapidly. I won't make that mistake again, ma'am, he said, getting a nod of approval from her. Good, now then, I have some questions. She started, making sure he was paying attention. You have told us you are human and I believe you. But what I want to know is how you were able to do those strange techniques. I don't know what you are talking about. He lied, unable to think of anything, but Yura wasn't about to let him off the hook like that. She had questions for some time, and she would get the answers no matter what. Let me refresh your memory. When we first faced Saiza, you created some strange blue orb. Against Kurama, you were able to block my kick, which should be impossible for a human. And of course there was yesterday. Are you honestly going to try and deny the fact that you were standing on water when there were plenty of witnesses? She asked with a glare that pretty much said, go ahead and lie. I dare you. I channeled my inner flames of youth, he offered, but paused as he thought about what he said. Konoha Team 9 Training Grounds. The members of Team 9 were currently training when the taijutsu specialist Might Guy came to a sudden halt. Judging by his face, you could tell he was in deep concentration. Is something wrong, Guy-sensei? Lee asked, wondering what was on his sensei's mind. No, it's just that my youth detector has picked something up, he informed as he rubbed his chin in thought. Youth detector? Niji questioned, wondering if he even wanted to know. It seems like another person has embraced the ways of youth, he shouted, ignoring Niji's question. All right. In honor of this mystery person, I will work to spread my flames of youth, and if I cannot, I will run 50 laps around Konoha on my hands, he shouted to the heavens above. I too shall honor this person, and if I cannot, I will do 100 push-ups with a boulder strapped to my back, Lee shouted with as much enthusiasm as his sensei. That a boy, Lee. Guy-sensei. Lee. Guy-sensei. The two green-clad ninja of Konoha shared and embraced as a sunset appeared in the background. A few feet away you can see Niji and Tenten banging their head against a nearby tree. Yura's room. The room was silent for a few minutes. What? Yura finally asked, not believing what she said. What the hell were flames of youth? I can't believe you just said that. Kurama groaned as he covered his eyes with a paw. Shut up. Just shut up, Naruto said in his mind, wondering what on earth possessed him to say that. Naruto was quiet for a bit, trying to think about what to say. He knew he couldn't keep everything a secret after everything they saw. He guessed that he could give her some answers. Alright, you win. Like I said, I'm human, but I'm also a shinobi, he stated. A shinobi? She asked in a somewhat interested tone. Yeah, we're trained to use chakra, which is like Yuki but for humans. By utilizing my chakra, I was able to create the Rasengan, which was that blue orb you saw. We can even use our chakra to walk on water or walk up trees without using our hands, he explained, hoping this would satisfy her curiosity. I see, she said as she absorbed the information. It certainly explained things. There was also that scar on your chest. I am curious, how did you get a wound that would leave such a scar? She said, raising an eyebrow when she noticed him stiffen at the mention of the scar. Sorry, Yura, but I don't really want to talk about it, Naruto said, looking away from her. Yura frowned at this but decided to let it go. Everyone was entitled to their own secrets. Very well, she said, getting a grateful smile from the blonde. Anyway, I know just the thing to make you feel better, he said as he pulled out 2 bowls of ramen out of nowhere. How the hell will ramen help me? More importantly, where do they come from? Yura shouted. Honestly, what was with his obsession over ramen? Poor naive Yura-chan. One cannot explain the miraculous powers of ramen through words alone. One must simply accept and be thankful for it, Naruto said sagely before he started to eat his bowl. Yura just stared at him incredulously before sighing. Chances are she'll never fully understand her blonde friend, but she knew one thing for sure. Things were never boring with him around. And with that thought she began to eat from her bowl. After all, she hadn't eaten a thing all day. Chapter 6. Tsukun, may I please suck your blood? Omot asked with a smile. Before he could even answer, she was already in front of him. Kapachu, she said before she bit down into his neck. What do you think you're doing? Kuruma shouted as she pointed a finger at Omot, who stepped back from Tsukun with a delighted blush and a satisfied smile on her face. Thank you for the treat. Your blood is definitely the tastiest. If I'm not careful, I might just get addicted, she said, ignoring the succubus, which did not please her. Who said you could just suck my destined one's blood? Kuruma yelled as she crossed her arms and glared at the vampire. What? Tsukun never said anything about it, Omot said with a confused look on her face. On the side, Tsukun was standing on wobbly legs with a dazed expression. She sucked my blood again. If she keeps going at this rate, I'll die of blood loss, but having her so close to me is amazing. The human thought to himself, not sure how he should feel about this situation. Look at him. You're sucking him dry, Kuruma cried before grabbing his head and pressing it against her breast. Don't worry, darling. Kuruma will protect you from her. What do you mean, protect him from me? I've never done anything to hurt him. Plus, look at you, you're suffocating him, Omot shouted as she pointed at Tsukun, who was flailing his arms around before they went limp from the lack of oxygen. Off on the sides, Yura was leaning against a tree with her arms crossed. Next to her, Naruto was sitting on one of the tombstones that decorated the school grounds with a bag of popcorn in hand. This never gets old, Naruto said as he ate a handful of popcorn before offering some to Yura, who refused. Maybe to you, but I have already grown tired of their useless squabbling, Yura complained as they watched sparks fly between the two girls that were glaring at each other. You need to lighten up, Yura-chan. Learn how to enjoy the simple things in life, Naruto said as he began to laugh. He swore he could see Tsukun's soul trying to escape through his mouth. I think I know a way to lighten up, as you say, she said as she glanced at the blonde, who looked at her curiously. And just how are you going to do that? He asked wearily when he saw a strange gleam in her eyes. Today after school, you and I will have a sparring match, she said, and if Naruto didn't know any better, he would say she was smiling. What? But today is the first day of the newspaper club, he pointed out. It wasn't like he didn't enjoy a good spar, but still. So? I haven't had a good spar in ages. Who cares if we are a little late? She said with a shrug. Like she said yesterday, she thought that the clubs were a waste of time. I don't know, Yura-chan. I already got in trouble for skipping school yesterday to visit you. I don't know if I want to risk getting into more trouble, especially when it's still so early in the year, Naruto said unsurely. If Ba-chan finds out I'm goofing around, then she would kill me, he thought with a shiver. Yura frowned at his hesitance. She really wanted to spar with him. So far, everyone at the school has proven themselves too weak to offer her a challenge. The only reason that the mermaids got the upper hand of her was because she pushed Omot out of the way, resulting in her getting hit with the water. The only one she has seen who could offer her a good fight was Naruto. She sighed as she realized what she had to do. She was very reluctant, but she would have to swallow her pride a bit. After all, desperate times call for desperate measures. Naruto, please, she said with a pout as she looked him in the eyes. The fact that she had called him by his name made him look at her in shock. But then when he caught sight of her pouting, it was too much. He always knew that Yura was a beautiful girl, but he never thought he would see her look so adorable like she did at the moment. He could feel his resolve crumbling as she looked at him before he couldn't hold it in. All right, you win, he said in a defeated tone but seriously. How could he say no when she was looking at him like that? Excellent. Then we have an agreement, she said with an excited grin. You two aren't even dating and she has you whipped, Kurama quipped. Shut it, you oversized plushie, Naruto shot back, earning a growl from the demonic fox. What the hell did you just call me? He asked in an annoyed tone, causing Naruto to inwardly smirk. I'm sorry, did you say something? he asked, feigning innocence, laughing when he heard Kurama cursing before stomping to a corner of his cage where he would ignore the blonde. So after the last class we will meet up and have our spar. Then we will go to the clubroom. The advisor is Nikanome. I'm sure she will not be too upset. He heard Yura say. I guess. Come on, we better go before the late bell rings, Naruto said as he stood up, stretching a bit. Do you want to or should I? Yura asked as she stepped away from the tree and pointed to the two girls who were still arguing about Sukun. I'll go this time, he said before turning to the other three and shouted, Hey! As much as I love watching a good love triangle, we have to go to class. With that down, he placed his hands behind his head and headed to class, Yura walking by his side shaking her head. The other three following behind with blushes on their faces. End of last class. Naruto ran out of the classroom with a large smile on his face. He thought he would pass out from boredom. Why the hell did I think that going to a school would be fun? He muttered to himself as he walked through the hall looking for Yura. Quit complaining, you wanted to see the world outside of Konoha and now you can. He heard from Kurama. I know, but school, what was I thinking? I've never been good at school. TCH. What about the friends you made here? You never would have met them if you hadn't come here. Kurama said, getting tired of his containers complaining. Guess so. Naruto admitted. Plus, didn't you just say to enjoy the simple things in life? You should follow your own advice. Besides hanging out with my friends, what could I possibly enjoy at this school? Naruto asked curiously. Are you serious? Do you not see all these hot chicks wearing short-ass skirts? Hell, what about the three girls you hang out with? They're easily the hottest girls at this school, especially the silver-haired one you're so close to, the fox said with a grin as Naruto blushed. What the hell is wrong with you, you Ero Kitsune? What do you mean, what's wrong with me? I just happen to have a keen eye when it comes to female beauty. Now hurry up and find the vampire chick, and while you're at it, see if you can cop a field during the spar. Kurama said, laughing loud when Naruto's blush grew. Are you alright, Uzumaki? Your face is all red. Yura said as she appeared in front of him, surprising the blonde. I'm fine, he shouted, still flustered from his talk with Kurama. Yura looked at him with a raised eyebrow. Okay then, she said slowly, shall we go? She asked. Naruto nodded his head as the two made their way to an open clearing where they could spar without the prying eyes of Yura's fan club. So, you want to do this sealed or unsealed? He asked as he dropped his bag, loosened his tie and took off his blazer. We are only having a light spar, so I will fight in my sealed state, she answered as she did the same as Naruto. Shrugging, Naruto walked back a few steps in order to give a bit of a distance between the two. Well then, are we ready to go? Naruto asked as he got into a fighting stance. I think we are. Remember, it is only a simple spar. No need to break any bones, she answered as she got into her own stance. The two silently stared at each other, and then as if some silent signal went off, they simultaneously charged. Naruto started off with a simple jab aimed at her head. Yura slapped it away before hitting an open palm strike at his chin, causing him to step back. She followed with a kick, but Naruto ducked down and did a sweep kick, causing Yura to fall. She quickly rolled out of the way, avoiding a follow-up hit. Not bad, Uzumaki, she complimented with a smirk before she charged again. She went for a punch, but Naruto crossed his arms and blocked it. He grabbed her arm and kicked her sides before punching her stomach. Yura gasped for air before narrowing her eyes. With her arm that was still in his grasp, she grabbed his arm and tossed him over her shoulder, catching off guard. Naruto got back up only to receive a devastating kick to the face, sending him bouncing against the ground. He stood back up and smirked. Are you sure you're in your sealed state, cause that was damn good kick, he said as he massaged his jaw. Aren't you sweet, but flattery will get you nowhere, Yura said as she got back into her fighting stance. The two charged again and exchanged a barrage of blows and blocks. Meanwhile, newspaper club room. I would like to welcome the new members of our club. Thank you for joining and let's begin. I'm sure we'll have a lot of fun together, Nikanome said with a bright smile. The room was silent as Sukun looked from Nikanome to the classroom. We're the only ones here? he thought, as the only other occupants of the room were Omote and Kuruma, who were sitting on either side of him. "Sensei, are we the only members of the club?" Tsukun asked, causing Nikanome to laugh. "Don't be silly, Tsukun, of course you're not. There's also Naruto-san and Yura-san. Though, I wonder where they are," Nikanome informed. "That's right. Yura-chan told me to tell you that they'll be a bit late," Omote said. "I see, thank you for telling me, Omote-san," Nikanome said as the door to the classroom opened. The others were expecting their two friends but were greeted with the sight of someone else. "My, how embarrassing. Late on the first day," a boy with black hair said as he offered the group a suave smile. "This is the other member of our club," Nikanome said as she pointed to the boy who looked about a year older than the others. "Hello, I am Jin Moriaka, the club president. It's a pleasure to meet you," he said, smiling, and if you looked close enough you could see his teeth sparkling. He looked at Tsukun first, and then looked at the two girls. In an instant he was in front of them with a bouquet of roses for the both of them. "Sensei told me about the new members, but she failed to mention how beautiful you two are," he said as he handed the bouquet to them. "This is our president," Tsukun thought as he watched the older boy carefully. He didn't like how Jin was looking at the girls. "Jin is the only second-year student that is on the club. If you have any questions, please just ask him," Nikanome explained. "You can count on me," he said as he gave the group a thumbs up. "Alright then. I have a staff meeting to go to, so I'll leave them in your care, Jin," the teacher said as she left the room. "Alright, leave it to me," he told her before the door closed. Once the teacher was gone, he looked at the remaining three residents seriously and began to speak. "Well, let's see. First, I'll give you the explanation of just what kind of club it is. The goal of the newspaper club is to publish the school newspaper. Most of your activity will be reporting in all kinds of things within the academy and putting them in the newspaper. We'll be put into dangerous situations time after time for the sake of reporting. I'll tell you right now, this ain't gonna be an easy ride. Once you've joined, you should prepare yourself." The others were silent as they digested what he just said. "He looks like someone we can rely on, right?" Omote asked as she looked at Tsukun. "Yeah, I guess so," he answered a bit unsurely. Just then Jin's face broke into a smile, and he chuckled. "Just kidding. Let's forget about all this serious stuff and have some fun," he said as he held up a poster. "This is our poster ad. I would really appreciate it if you could hang it up for me." The three of them nodded as they got to work. Omote and Kuruma stood on some chairs in order to hang up the poster while Tsukun was looking over the posters. He looked over at the club president who stood behind the two girls giving instructions. At first Jin-senpai looked like nothing but a flirt, but it seems like he can be serious at times too. He thought before he noticed something. He looked loser and saw that as Jin was instructing the girls to hang the poster higher, he walked closer and looked up. Human's eyes widened when he realized where he was looking. "He's peeking up their skirts," he thought as he ran there and stood in front of Jin to block his view. "Senpai, what are you doing? How could you?" Tsukun asked as he stared at him, shocked. This student was supposed to guide them in the club, but this is how he's acting? "What are you talking about?" Jin asked innocently as he looked at the boy, confused. "Don't pretend that you don't know. You were definitely looking up air skirts," he accused. "Why would you say that? There's no way I would do something like that," Jin said, waving a dismissive hand at him. "He's lying. I definitely saw him peeping," Tsukun thought as he stared at Jin. "What's going on?" Omote asked. When she and Kuruma finished hanging the posters, they noticed Jin and Tsukun were having some kind of discussion. "Oh, the thing is, this guy just told me how he looked up your skirts and got a good view of your panties," Jin said as he pointed his thumb at Tsukun, whose jaw dropped. How could he blame him for the crime he just committed? "What?" both girls cried with blushes on their faces. "Wait, don't listen to him. It's a misunderstanding. I mean, I may have gotten an accidental peek, but it was Jin-senpai who," he tried to explain but never finished. "With Naruto and Yura." Naruto was walking through the hallway with Yura by his side. Both had some light bruises and scratches but didn't really worry about it. After all, with their advanced healing abilities they will be gone in no time. I must say, Uzumaki, I am quite pleased. The spar went much better than I thought. Yura said. Easy for you to say. What happened to no broken bones? I think you dislocated my shoulder with that last axe kick you hit me with, Naruto said as he stretched his sore shoulder around. It wasn't my fault you didn't dodge. Yura shrugged. How could I dodge? When you raised your leg you gave me a good shot of what's beneath your skirt, Naruto thought with a blush. You didn't grope her like I suggested, but a panty shot is still pretty good, Kurama said through the mind link. Stop saying things like that, Ero Kitsune, Naruto shouted, causing the fox to laugh. The two made it to the club room and were about to enter when the door suddenly opened. They watched with raised brows as a fuming Omote and Kuruma stormed past them without so much as a glance. They looked at the departing girls and then inside, seeing Tsukun, who had a red handprint on both cheeks with a laughing black-haired boy next to him. What just happened? Naruto asked. The black-haired boy looked at them, and his eyes widened when he saw Yura. Naruto noticed a strange gleam in the boy's eyes as he looked at the silver-haired girl. The same gleam he noticed whenever Jiraiya had some sort of perverted thought. Nothing really, this guy just got caught peeking up the girl's skirts, he said before Tsukun could say something. Tsukun was about to say something in his defense, but the temperature in the room suddenly dropped. You did what? Yura growled as her glowing red eyes glared at the frightened boy. He was going to die. There was no question about it. He knew how protective Yura was of Omote, and now he was going to die. His thoughts were confirmed by her next sentence. I'll kill you, she shouted as she lounged at the boy. How dare this human peek at her sister? Before she got too far, Naruto wrapped his arms around her waist and pulled her back. Calm down, Yura-chan, Naruto shouted, trying to calm the girl down. Release me this instant, Uzumaki. I will teach this pervert a lesson, Yura shouted as she tried to escape from his grasp. Hey kid, look at that other one real quick, he heard Kurama say. Confused, Naruto did as instructed, but still made sure he had a tight grip on Yura to make sure she didn't kill Tsukun. Because Tsukun was too frightened and Yura was too angry, Naruto was the only one to notice. Jin was looking at the two of them with narrowed eyes. More specifically, he was looking at the arms that were wrapped around Yura's waist. It was a look Naruto knew pretty well, the look of jealousy. The same look he had himself when he still loved Sakura, but the only thing she cared about was Sasuke. Better keep a close on this one, kid, Kurama warned, and Naruto silently agreed before looking at the struggling girl in his arms. Yura-chan, calm down. How do you think Omote-chan will feel if you killed her friend? He asked as he vampire began to calm down. TCH. Let me go, Uzumaki. I will not harm Tsukun this time, she said, and Naruto carefully let her go. Well then, now that that's over, let me introduce myself. I am the club president, Jin, he said as he pulled a bouquet of roses out of nowhere and handed it to Yura. Yura just stared at him blankly, and without even looking at the bouquet she turned to Naruto. I'm going to find Omote. You can stay here if you wish, she told him, and Naruto noticed the look of jealousy in Jin's eyes again. It looked like he didn't like being ignored by Yura. Alright then, I'll see you tomorrow then, Naruto said, and she nodded before leaving the club room. After a moment of silence, Jin finally spoke. Well, since most of the club has left, I guess we can call it a day. I'll see you guys tomorrow, Jin said as he left the boys in the room. Alright then, Tsukun, why don't you tell me what actually happened? Naruto suggested as he crossed his arms and listened to Tsukun explain what really happened. Next day. I don't like perverts, Omote said before she walked away. Tsukun, who was trying to explain himself, stood there frozen in place. Finally coming out of his stupor, he tried to follow her. Please listen to me, Omote-san. It's not what it looks like, Tsukun pleaded. I don't care, just go away, she said as she ran away. Watching them from a distance, Naruto sighed. How come it always seems like those two are fighting? Naruto asked. I'm not sure, but it does seem to be happening quite often, Yura agreed. I did not sign up for all this drama when I enrolled here, Naruto complained, wondering what he and Yura would have to do his time to get those two on the same page again. There's no use crying about it now. Come on, we better leave before we are late, Yura suggested. Nodding his head, Naruto slung his arm over her shoulders and the two began to walk. Watch out for Jin, he said quietly. There was no telling when someone could just be eavesdropping. You think so too? Yura asked just as quietly. Yeah, when I looked at him yesterday he had this strange look in his eyes, Naruto said as she nodded. Yes, I can also feel that he is hiding his strength. I do not know how strong he actually is, but it would be best to be cautious around him, Yura advised. Watching the scene from afar, Jin smirked when he watched how Omote wouldn't give Sukun the time of day. But the smirk fell and he glared when he saw how close Naruto and Yura seemed. He even growled a little when he saw the blonde put his arm over her shoulders. Jin put on a charming smile as he walked over to a pair of girls. Excuse me, ladies, but would you mind if I asked you a question? He asked politely. What do you want? One of the girls asked. Well, you see that Sukun is always hanging around Omote-san. Are they dating? He asked. No one knows for sure, but they don't really match right. I mean, she's really beautiful while he's just so average, the girls said. But there are rumors saying that people have seen Omote-san kissing his neck, so maybe they are dating, her friend added, causing Jin's eyes to widen. I see. What about Naruto-san and Yura-san? Those two seem awfully friendly towards each other, he said as the girls adopted a thinking expression. Well, Yura-san doesn't really like to hang out with others, one of the girls said. Yeah, besides her sister, the only person she really talks to is Naruto-san. Those two are really close. Naruto-san is probably the only one that Yura-san allows so close to her, he friend added as Jin began to grit his teeth. Omote-san kisses his neck, Yura-san lets him be so close but wouldn't even say hi to me, Jin muttered under his breath as the two girls looked at him oddly. Unable to take it anymore, he began to pull his hair and screamed in frustration. You have got to be kidding me. What's so special about those two? Why are they so close to those two goddesses? He screamed into the sky. Oh God, he's insane! One of the girls shouted as they ran away from Jin. He took some deep breaths in order to calm himself. Mark my words, you two. I don't care who you are, but the Akashiya twins will be mine, Jin declared as he walked away, thinking of a plan to win the hearts of Omote and Yura. Naruto and Yura separated as they had to go to different classes. As he was whistling a simple tune, he noticed a familiar head of sky blue hair. Hey there, Kuruma-chan, Naruto greeted. Naruto, how are you? She asked with a smile. Pretty good. So what's going on? You look like you're searching for something, Naruto asked as he watched her lower her head. I was looking for Tsukun-kun. Yesterday I jumped to conclusions without letting him explain. Then when I thought about it, I realized that he doesn't really seem like the type to peep on girls, she explained solemnly, causing Naruto to smile. Relax, I'm sure he'd be more than willing to forgive you, he reassured her, making her brighten up. You really think so? She asked hopefully. Positive, he said, laughing when she hugged him. Thank you, I feel better now. But I still have to find him, she said as she began to look around the hall. There he is, Naruto said as he pointed to a depressed-looking Tsukun who was dragging his feet through the halls. Perfect. Hey Tsuku, she started to call but was stopped when Naruto placed a hand over her mouth. He dragged her to one of the corridors where they could hide and removed his hand. What are you doing? She asked, annoyed, but he just shushed her. They looked over and saw that Jin had approached Tsukun. Kuruma-chan, follow us from a distance while I stay with Tsukun, Naruto ordered, getting a confused frown from the succubus. Why? What's going on? There's just something about this Jin that Yura-chan and I don't like. We have to be careful around him, he answered, making Kuruma agree. Besides, if both Yura and Naruto found something odd about their president, then something was definitely up. With that said, Naruto walked over to the two boys. Hey there, Tsukun Jin-san, Naruto greeted. Naruto, I was looking for you too. I was just telling Tsukun here that today's club meeting will be outside. Since we're all here, why don't we head off now? Jin suggested with a friendly smile. I guess so, Tsukun said with a frown. He was still mad about what Jin did the other day. Naruto took a quick glance over his shoulder and saw that Kurama was watching them carefully. Sure thing, he said as the two of them followed Jin until they were outside. Why the hell are we here? Naruto asked as he looked at their surroundings. Aren't we just at the back of the school? Why would we have a club meeting here? Sukun asked. You two need to relax. The others will be here soon, Jin said with his usual friendly smile plastered on his face. By the way, Omode-san was pretty pissed off yesterday, huh? He asked Sukun good-naturedly. Yeah, she won't talk to me at all. He growled out as he glared at the president, who didn't seem bothered by it at all. Sorry about that, he said, but it was clear that he wasn't as he looked at Naruto. And then there's Yura-san. She didn't even acknowledge me yesterday. It broke my heart. What can I say? She either likes you or she doesn't, Naruto said with a shrug. He looked up and saw Kurama watching them from the roof. Good, so far so good. If they kept this up, then they could figure out Jin's plans sooner or later. Well, now that we're here, I need you to look at the window over there, Jin instructed as he pointed at the window he wanted them to see. Why? Shouldn't we wait for the girls? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. For a split second, worry crept into Jin's eyes before it vanished. They'll be here, but we don't have to delay the meeting just for them. We can catch them up on things, he said as if it were no big deal. Watching him carefully, Sukun finally nodded and stood on a nearby crate so he could reach the window. You know what's weird? Omode-san and Yura-san are much better than what I heard. Who knows, I think I'm falling in love with both of them. Weird, huh? He said casually. Sukun and Naruto looked at him, not expecting that. I swear that I will make them my women, he promised with a smug smile. Why is he telling us this? Sukun thought. What's his game? Naruto wondered. Sukun was about to ask Jin what he meant when he heard a sound coming from the other side of the window. When he looked through, his face grew bright red as he looked at a group of girls undressing. Jin-senpai, this is, he tried to say as he turned his head and paled when he saw a camera in Jin's hand. Girls' changing room? I know, he said, smirking as he showed him the picture he took of Sukun looking through the window. Hey, look, a pervert! Naruto shouted. The others were surprised and Jin was about to run for it when he tripped on his feet. He looked down and saw that his feet were tied with some kind of wire. Naruto quickly drew a kunai from inside his blazer and threw it at the camera, breaking it to pieces. He heard some shuffling from the girls' changing room and acted quickly. He grabbed Sukun's arm and threw him into the air. He followed by jumping off the walls so he could reach the roof before the girls could see him. Damn it! When did this get here? Jin asked himself as he tried to get the wire off his legs, when a shadow spread over him. He looked up and paled when he saw a group of angry girls glaring at him. Now, ladies, this is actually a pretty funny story. He tried to explain, but it fell on deaf ears and he was forced to feel the wrath of angry females. From above, Naruto watched with a smirk as Jin's screams of pain filled the air. Thank you, Naruto, Sukun said as he was being held by Kurama, who was flying above. No problem. Thanks for helping us, Kuruma-chan, Naruto added, giving her a thumbs up. Anytime. Kuruma smiled as she gave a victory sign. Later on that night, a bruised and beaten Jin stomped through the school grounds. His eyes scanned through the crowd of students until he found who he was looking for. Glaring at the blonde, he marched over to Naruto and grabbed his shoulder. Ah, Jin-senpai, so nice to see you, he said with a cheeky grin as Jin's eye began to twitch. I must admit those were some nice moves you pulled off, Jin said with a frown. What can I say? I've always been a bit of a fighter, Naruto said with a shrug. Listen, I think you and I can be great friends. All you have to do is stay out of my way so that I can get the Akashiyas. What do you say? Jin said, causing Naruto to roll his eyes. You honestly think that I'll just stand by while you do who knows what to my friends just because you asked? Naruto asked, shaking his head. I thought so. It looks like the only way to settle this is the old-fashioned way. Right now, you and me on the roof. Whatever, Naruto said as he followed Jin to the roof with the others. And that's what happened. I swear I wasn't trying to peep at you, Omode-san, Sukun said honestly as he explained what happened the other day. It's true, Omo-chan. Earlier today I watched as Jin-senpai tried to trick them into peeping and then taking a picture as blackmail. If it wasn't for Naruto's quick thinking it probably would have worked. Kuruma added. I'm sorry for not listening, Sukun, Omo said with shame. Sukun was her first real friend and she wouldn't even listen as he tried to explain himself. It seems like she could be as stubborn as her sister. It's okay, Omo-san. I'm just glad we're okay again, Sukun said with a smile, earning a smile from the pink-haired girl. Now that we have all made up, what are we going to do about Jin? Yura interrupted. I'm not sure. He seemed pretty obsessed with you too, Sukun said as he pointed to the vampires. Why is it that you always get the attention? Kuruma complained with a pout. I already told you that I do not like this sort of attention, Yura shouted as her eye twitched in annoyance. Now's not the time to fight with each other, Omo said, trying to stop another fight from happening. Sukun's sweat dropped as he watched the girls argue when he noticed someone missing. Yura-san, where's Naruto? He asked. How should I know? She asked with a raised eyebrow. Because you two are always together. It's like you two are attached at the hip or something, Kuruma answered. The only reason we are attached at the hip, like you say, is because he is an idiot that doesn't understand the concept of personal space. She huffed as she crossed her arms. Yeah, but it doesn't look like you mind. In fact, if I had to guess, I'd say you rather enjoy it, Kuruma said, smirking when she noticed Yura blushing lightly. I'm not sure what you are implying, but I warn you, succubus, watch how you speak to me or you will pay, Yura said with a glare. Let's not fight. Beside Yura-chan, it's alright if you enjoy spending time with Naruto, Omote added, but instead of helping it made Yura's blush deepen. Who says I enjoy spending time with him? She yelled in annoyance. Seriously, why were they talking about her strange association with Naruto? Maybe we should focus at the problem at hand. Like where Naruto is or what we are going to do about Jin-senpai, Sukun said, hoping to stop the teasing before Yura loses her temper. Well, after the way Naruto tricked Jin-senpai, I'd say he would want some sort of revenge, Kuruma suggested. Do you think he would want to fight him or try to hurt him? Omote asked, worried about her friend. Possibly, but would Naruto do something foolish like walk into Jin-senpai's trap and fight him head-on? Sukun asked. It was only quiet for a second before Yura spoke up. Let's go find him. Knowing Naruto, he's already fighting that idiot president, she said as she began to walk away. The others looked at each other before nodding and followed after her. Rooftop. You sure you want to do this? Naruto asked as he stared at the boy in front of him. Jin just ignored him and chose to stare at the moon instead. You know, moon really is beautiful. Whenever I see it, I usually get a little wild, especially when it's full like now, Jin said with a smirk, revealing a sharp canine-like tooth. I really don't have time for this. Let's just get this over with, Naruto said as he got into a fighting stance. I couldn't agree with you more. Once you're out of the way, I'll take care of Sukun. Then the Akashiyas will be mine. Now tremble in fear, he roared as his body began to transform. His body was soon covered in fur, his face took the shape similar to a dog's, and his hands became razor-sharp claws. Once he was done, he released a howl into the air before smirking at the blonde, who was silent. That's right, I'm the legendary werewolf. Looks like he's too frightened to move, let alone fight, Jin thought smugly. Wow, so your true form is an oversized dog? Naruto asked as he tilted his head, causing the wolf to fall over anime style. I'm a wolf, not a dog, he growled in annoyance. Whatever, let's go, Naruto shouted as he ran towards the wolf. He delivered a punch but only met air. Where on earth are you aiming at? I'm over here, Jin taunted from behind before kicking the blonde. Naruto stood up in time to feel the impact of a knee in his stomach before he was punched in his face. What's wrong? I thought we were here to fight, so why are you just standing around? Jin taunted as he kicked Naruto in the side, followed by an upward slash cutting his cheek. Wind Claw, Naruto said as his hands became covered with wind chakra, making them more claw-like. He moved his head in time to avoid another punch and slashed Jin across the chest. Jin stumbled back and Naruto followed through with a roundhouse kick at the wolf's head, sending him flying, but Jin grabbed the railing before he fell off the roof. This seems unfair. Last time you got to fight the mermaids and now you get to fight this dog, they heard a voice say. They looked at the roof leading to the roof and saw that it was open with Yura walking out followed by the others. Hey guys, what's going on? Naruto asked as he kept a careful watch on Jin, who was staring at the twins with a look of lust. I think we should be asking you that question, Yura said as she walked over to him. Last time she was forced to watch as Naruto fought for them all, and she was not about to let that happen again. Suddenly a bright light from behind them flashed. They turned to see Omote in her release form, her Rosario in Tsukun's hand. Her pink hair grew a silver streak, her eyes turned a light shade of red with slitted pupils, and her hands became more claw-like. Seeing their questioning looks, she smiled. I might not be as strong as you two, but that doesn't mean I'm helpless. This guy tried to turn me against Tsukun and he's after me too. This is just as much my fight as it is yours, she explained. Just be careful, Omote, Yura said with a smirk before turning to Naruto, and if you would be so kind, I would appreciate it if you removed my Rosario Uzumaki. This was supposed to be a one-on-one fight between me and the mutt, but I'd rather avoid the wrath of two angry females, he said as he pulled off her Rosario. A wave of yuki filled the air as her pupils transformed into slits, her fangs became more pronounced, and her hands were now like claws. So the rumors are true. You two really are vampires. But it's pointless. When it comes to speed, we werewolves are unbeatable. All the power in the world is useless if you can't hit your opponent, Jin shouted as he became a blur, circling the three of them. So this is the speed of a werewolf. I must admit it is impressive, Yura thought as she had trouble following his movements. I can't see him. He's really fast, Omote thought as she looked around. Let's see, he's not as fast as Lee is without his weights, but it's still pretty impressive. All I have to do is get him to hold still, but how? Stupid perverted wolf, Naruto thought before his eyes widened and he grinned. That's it. Yura-chan, Omote-chan, I have a plan. When I get him to stand still, you two go for the kill, Naruto said. Very well, Yura said, wondering what he had planned. You can count on us, Naruto, Omote added. What's the matter? Have you decided to give up and accept that you two will be mine? Jin said with a fanged grin. I hope you're ready, Aromut, because here I go. Uzumaki Forbidden Arts, he said as he made a hand sign. Forbidden Arts? How interesting, Yura thought as she watched on. Forbidden? That means it's really strong, right? Tsukun thought, wondering how Naruto knew such a move. Probably, I mean it has to be forbidden for a reason, right? Kuruma asked, wide-eyed, wondering what kind of attack Naruto knew that it was forbidden. Sexy technique, Naruto said as a cloud of smoke surrounded him. Jin appeared in front of him and was about to finish him off but froze when the smoke disappeared. Standing in front of him was a naked girl with large breasts, her blonde hair tied into pigtails, and the only thing covering her modesty was the residual smoke. You're not going to hurt me, are you, Jin-sama? The girl asked with wide tear-filled eyes. Tsukun fainted from a massive nose blood while the girls blushed furiously. What are you waiting for? The girl asked, snapping them back to attention. Yura looked and saw that Jin was in a daze as he stared goofily at the naked girl in front of him. Seeing this as an opening, she moved. Let's go, Omote, Yura said as she ran towards the wolf. Right, Omote shouted as she followed her sister. The girl transformed to reveal a grinning Naruto, who jumped back right at the moment Yura appeared in front of Jin, while Omote was behind him. Know your place, they both said as they attacked. Omote smiled in satisfaction when she felt her kick hit the back of Jin's head hard, while Yura had a sadistic smirk when her kick connected with Jin's groin. Jin's eyes widened so much that it looked like they would fall out at any moment, while he opened his mouth to scream in pain, but no sound would come out. He girls stepped away as Jin fell to his knees. Without warning, the rest of his body crashed to the ground, unable to stand the pain, and passed out. Ha! It looks like we win, Naruto shouted as he pumped his fist into the air. His joy was short-lived though, as he received a kick to the head that sent him crashing into the roof's door. What the hell? he asked groggily as he held his head in pain. He looked up to see Yura glaring at him, and he gulped in fear as she walked over to him. What happened? Naruto asked as he stared into her eyes. He could have sworn he saw his whole life flash before him when he saw the anger in them. What the hell was that? She asked angrily. What was what? He asked only to yelp in fear when she grabbed the front of his shirt and slammed him against the door that was still intact somehow. That transformation thing you did? She said as everyone except Naruto blushed, remembering what he did to keep Jin from moving. Oh, that? That was the first technique I ever created. It's the ultimate anti-pervert technique, Naruto said with pride. Well, other than the harem technique, that is, he thought, but noticed that dark aura around Yura. Never use that technique when I am around, or so help me, she said, trailing off in the end, but Naruto had a pretty good idea of what she meant. Yes, ma'am, he said, nodding his head frantically. Good, she said as he let go of him. She was about to leave when she caught the scent of something. She breathed in the scent and was mesmerized by it. She looked around and she found his source. Right on Naruto's cheek was a cut he got from Jin's claws, with a rail of blood falling from it. You okay, Yura-chan? Naruto asked, wondering why she wasn't moving. In fact, based on the look of her eyes, she seemed to be in some sort of trance. Yura didn't hear him though. The scent of his blood was blocking her other senses. She took a step towards the blonde, their faces extremely close together. Without thinking, she stuck her tongue out and gently licked a bit of the blood on his cheek. Yura-chan? What's going? Naruto started, but the words died in his throat when he felt Yura lick his cheek. He didn't know what to think, but he felt his face heat up at the unexpected action. Yura didn't seem to notice this, however, as she tasted his blood and her eyes widened. In layman's term, the taste was magnificent. She had never tasted blood like this before, and she wanted more. She took another lick and savored the taste of the blood. The whole time Naruto was blushing up a storm. Once she finished the last of the blood on his cheek, she trailed her tongue along his cut. Naruto wasn't sure what he should do. Never in his life was he in this kind of position. He felt Yura press her body onto his as she began to moan softly. It seemed like his blood had quite the effect on her. Finally she stopped, and she took a step back. He looked at her face and saw that her eyes were a bit glazed. Yura-chan, why you okay and now? Naruto stuttered, snapping her out of her trance. Yura blinked a few times as she stared at him until her eyes widened in realization. She backed up a bit as her face practically erupted in flames, it was so red. She looked around and her embarrassment grew when she saw the others looking at them with slack jaws and wide eyes. She tried to say something, but every time she opened her mouth it just closed, unable to think of anything. Sorry, she finally mumbled before leaving the roof, leaving a confused, hot, and slightly aroused blonde wondering what the hell just happened. He was about to ask the others but stopped when a thought entered his mind and he groaned. There was no way Kurama was going to let him live this down. Next day, Yura leaned against the railing of the roof as she watched the newspaper club hand out their first paper. It was an article revealing the perverted actions of Jin and how the female population of the schools should be wary of him. As a part of the club she should be helping them, but she couldn't face anyone. Not after they saw what she did. How could she lose control of herself and let her instincts take over? She knew that the succubus would never shut up about this, and knowing how Naruto loved to tease her, she had a feeling he would be mentioning the little incident often. Damn it, you always seem to find a way to give me a headache, Uzumaki. Yura sighed as she messaged her temples. Now that's just mean. I haven't even said a thing yet. She heard a voice from behind say. She turned around to see Naruto walking towards her with his hands behind his head and a grin on his face. What do you want, Uzumaki? Yura asked as she looked back at the view from the roof. So mean, Yura-chan. You don't even say hi to me? I'm crushed, Naruto said as he walked forward until he was standing next to her. There was a moment of silence until Yura finally spoke. Is there a reason you're here? She asked without looking at him. Well, none of us have seen you today, and when you didn't arrive to help hand out the papers we got a little worried, so I went to search for you, he explained. I just wanted to be alone so I can think, she said, still not looking at her. Is it because of yesterday? he asked and was awarded with the sight of Yura's blushing face. I have already apologized. I let my instincts get the best of me, she said, hoping to drop it, but what he said next shocked her. I don't mind, you know, he said so casually that she almost didn't understand. When his words registered, she looked at him wide-eyed. What? Was the only thing she could say. I mean, yeah, at first I was a little freaked out, but that was because I didn't expect it. I talked to Omo-chan afterwards, and she explained what happens when vampires catch the scent of blood. That sometimes they just can't control it. Last night was one of those times, I guess, he explained as he looked at her. Thank you for not making a big deal out of this, she said, relieved, and Naruto nodded. He knew she was a very proud girl, and to do something like that in front of the others must have really embarrassed her. You know, if you really want to, I have no problem with letting you suck my blood, he told her, as she was once again shocked by his words. What? She asked dumbly, and Naruto couldn't help but chuckle at her gobsmacked expression. You're a vampire, you need blood. I understand, and I have no problem if you want to suck my blood like Omo-chan does with Tsuken, he explained. Why would you do that? She asked. Because Yura-chan, you are my friend, and there isn't anything I wouldn't do for my friend, he said with a grin. She looked at him to see if this was a trick, but only found honesty. She allowed a small smile to grace her face. Thank you, I am glad I have a friend like you, Naruto, Yura said, causing Naruto to raise an eyebrow. So, are you going to say Kapuchu before you suck my blood like Omo-chan does? I have to admit that would be pretty cute, Naruto said, causing Yura to roll her eyes. Of course he would say something stupid that would ruin the moment, but then again, he wouldn't be Naruto if he didn't. The two of them left the roof and headed to meet the rest of their friends to help with the club, and if you listened carefully, you could hear the screams of pain from Jin as the female students who read the article unleashed their wrath on the wolf. Chapter 7. Where the hell is she? A random student shouted. I don't know, but we have to find her, another shouted. She is going to pay, a third one shouted as the group of 3 students looked around trying to find their target. Sitting on a tree branch out of view from them, a little girl was sitting down as she watched them with a grin. She reached into her backpack and pulled out 3 banana peels. Waving the wand in her hand around, the banana peels levitated in the air before flying towards the students before they landed in front of them. Not paying attention, the boys took a step forward, and as one they slipped on the peel and landed on the ground. What now? One of them groaned as he rubbed his head. It's definitely her fault, another one muttered. When I get my hands on that witch, she's going to pay, the third one added as he glared at nothing. We're not going to find her by just standing here, the second one said. The other 2 nodded, and they took another step forward, and then fell to the ground face first. They looked at their feet only to find their shoelaces tied together. Gaining a tick mark, they took their shoes off and ran in a random direction. When we find you, you'll be sorry, Sendo, they shouted. Once they were gone, the little girl couldn't take it anymore. She dissolved into a fit of giggles until it became hysterical laughter as she clutched her sides, trying not to lose her balance. Not bad, Yukari-chan, a voice from above said, startling her. The young witch looked up to see Naruto casually lying down on the branch above her with a fox-like grin on his face. Naruto? What are you doing here? She asked with a smile. I came to visit my friend and I find her playing pranks, but I hope you remembered my rules, he said as he looked at her. Nodding, Yukari pulled out a small notepad, flipped a few pages and began to read. Yep. When pranking someone, make sure it is someone who deserves it. Try to avoid pranking the innocent unless it would be really, really funny, Yukari read. Looks like you were paying attention to my classes after all, Naruto said, pleased as he jumped off the branch and landed on the ground gracefully. Instead of jumping, Yukari carefully climbed down until she reached the ground besides the blonde. So Naruto, how's Yura-san? Yukari asked as the 2 began to walk around. Oh, you know Yura-chan. One moment she's pretty nice to me, and then 5 seconds later she says something sarcastic, and then rolls her eyes while calling me an idiot, Naruto answered with a shrug, causing Yukari to giggle. Anyway, I've been thinking. Maybe it's time you meet my other friends. Naruto said casually while Yukari fidgeted a bit nervously. I don't know, I've been really busy with my studies, she said. That or you're afraid they'd treat you like the other students around here, he said calmly while Yukari stiffened a little since he was right. Maybe, she admitted as she looked at the ground. Naruto sighed as he stopped walking and placed a hand on her shoulder, causing him to look up. Relax, Yukari-chan, you have nothing to worry about. Omo-chan is one of the sweetest girls alive, and she's always looking forward to making new friends. Tsukun is also a good guy, and as for Kuruma-chan, she's a bit eccentric, but she's a good girl. Just don't get in her way when she tries to get Tsukun, Naruto added in thought. Are you sure it will be alright? Yukari asked attentively. She would like to make new friends, but for all she knew they could turn out like everyone else. Of course it will. Besides, I'll be there too, he added. Yukari thought about it before nodding her head. Okay, if you're sure it will be okay, I'll meet them, she stated with a small smile, earning a grin from the blonde. Alright then. I'll find you after school and take you to the newspaper club. We all joined it, so everyone will be there, Naruto informed as the bell rang. Okay then, I'll see you later, Naruto, Yukari said as she ran to her next class. Hopefully by the end of the day she would meet some new people who would accept her despite her being a witch. End of school. Yukari was walking through the halls heading for the bulletin board. Now that classes were over, the list of academic ranks would be posted around the school. She was confident that she would be number one, but she wanted to look and be sure. As she walked towards her destination, she could hear a few students whispering about her and witches. None of what they said were compliments either. While she was still a bit hurt by them, she was able to handle them better. After all, she had a friend in Naruto, and although she didn't know Yura that well on a personal level, she was nice to her when they first met. Ignoring the insults thrown at her, she looked at the bulletin board and smiled when she saw she was ranked number 1 again. She took another look and saw that Yura was ranked 5th while Naruto was ranked 152nd. Shaking her head, she smiled. Naruto wasn't the best student, but he was a good friend. She was about to leave and search for Naruto, but she heard the crowd around her go in an uproar. Amazing, Omote-san is ranked 13th, a random student said with hearts in his eyes. Not only does she have beauty, but she has brains too, another one shouted. She's perfect, another shouted as similar comments were shouted, but the pink-haired vampire paid no mind to them as she smiled when she saw her rank. Amazing, Omote-san, looks like I'll have to work hard and follow your example, Tsukun said with a smile as he was ranked 128th. It's not really that much of a big deal, Omote said as she blushed from the praise. I think I should get you to teach me some of your study methods so I can do better next time, Tsukun said, causing Omote to brighten up. Of course, and in exchange you can let me suck your blood. Does that sound alright, Tsukun? She asked, causing the human to face fault at the mention of his blood. While the two of them were talking, Yukari was watching them curiously. Omote and Tsukun? Are they the friends that Naruto was talking about? Maybe I should introduce myself to them now, the young witch thought. She took one step towards them but stopped and shook her head. No, it's probably better if I wait for Naruto, she decided before she turned around and was about to go when a familiar face approached her. Yukari Sendo, so nice to see you again, the class representative said as he looked at the little girl, disgust clearly seen in his eyes. What do you want? She asked in annoyance. Seems like Naruto had influenced her more than she thought. Her reaction caught him off guard since the last time they met she was terrified of him. Now that's no way to greet an old friend, is it? He asked in fake hurt. We're not friends, she growled as she tried to walk by him, but he stopped her. Unknowingly their confrontation caught the attention of Omote and Tsukun. The two of them started their way over there hoping to figure out what was going on. I'd watch your mouth, witch. Your blonde bodyguard isn't here to save you this time, the class representative said. Just because he isn't here doesn't mean you can boss me around, she shouted as she kicked the older student in the shin. Why, you little? That's it, I've had about enough of you, he shouted as he was about to hit Yukari. The young witch closed her eyes awaiting the pain, but like the last time it never came. She opened her eyes and was surprised at what happened. Standing in front of her was Omote, who stared defiantly at the class representative. "What are you doing?" Omote asked, shocked that someone would strike a little girl. The class representative stared at her and gritted his teeth in frustration. "First it was that damn Uzumaki kid and now this? You got lucky again, Sendo, but pretty soon it will run out." "I have no time for you," he said before turning around and walking away. Releasing a sigh of relief, Omote turned towards Yukari, who was looking at her in surprise. "Why did you help me?" she asked, earning a confused look from the pink-haired vampire. "What do you mean, why?" "I helped you because you needed it," Omote answered as if it were the most obvious thing, which to her it was. "Thank you so much. My name is Yukari Sendo," she introduced with a bright smile. "Isn't that the name of the first-ranked student?" "That's you?" Tsukin asked as he walked towards them. "Amazing, you must be very smart," Omote complimented with a smile, causing Yukari to blush from the praise. "It's nothing really," she said as she scratched the back of her head in a sheepish manner, something she picked up from Naruto. With Naruto. Naruto was now standing at the meeting place that he and Yukari agreed on, but there was one problem. Yukari was nowhere to be seen. "Where is she? Did she just decide to leave?" he asked. "It's your own fault. You fell asleep at the end of class and now you're about 30 minutes late from the agreed time," Yura said. As she was walking through school, she saw a sleeping Naruto and woke him up. After waking up, he explained how he was going to introduce Yukari to the rest of the gang. "It's not my fault that math is so boring," Naruto whined. "Whatever, it is clear that she is not coming, so we might as well go to the club room," Yura stated. "Guess you're right. I'll just have to bring her over some other time," Naruto said as the two of them made their way to the club room. "You guess I'm right?" "Please, I am always right," Yura said as she crossed her arms. To quote a certain silver-haired vampire, "I never knew you were so humble," Naruto teased with a smirk. Yura simply rolled her eyes, but there was a small smile on her face. As the two continued to walk, Naruto noticed that Yura seemed a bit off. She would glance at him every now and then but quickly look away. It also looked like she wanted to say something but held her tongue. "Something wrong, Yura-chan?" Naruto asked as his curiosity got the best of him. "And no, everything's fine, Naruto," she said as her cheeks gained a light pink hue. "You know, if something's wrong you can just tell me," he said. She was silent for a while, debating with herself if she should actually go through with this. "Do you remember what we talked about on the roof after the incident with Jin?" she finally asked. Naruto was quiet as he thought about the incident with the perverted wolf a few days ago. After a little bit of thinking, he pounded a fist into an open palm. "You told me to never use my sexy technique in front of you again. But wait, what does that have to do with anything?" Naruto asked as he scratched his head in confusion. Yura felt her eye twitch at the reminder of the perverted technique but shook her head as she tried to remain calm. "Not that. I meant what you said about your blood," she clarified. "Oh right. I said you could suck my blood anytime you wanted, just give me a heads up," he said, tilting his head to the side, wondering what was on her mind. "Yes, well, if the offer still stands, I was wondering if I could have some blood now," her blush deepening as she looked at him with an uncharacteristically shy look. Naruto blinked 3 times as he just stared at her. Her words finally registered and he shook his head with a grin. "That's what's been bothering you. I already told you it was okay," he said as he loosened the collar of his shirt and turned his head a bit to expose his neck to her. Nodding her head and smiling in gratitude, Yura stood in front of him and leaned closer to his neck. Her fangs extended, and without saying anything she gently bit into his neck. The next thing she knew, an explosion of flavor happened as she lost herself in the taste of his blood. Naruto wrapped an arm around her waist to keep her balanced as she sucked his blood, releasing an occasional moan of pleasure causing him to blush. Having her fill, she released him and licked any excess blood off her fangs and lips. "Enjoy yourself?" Naruto asked as he noticed her dazed expression. "MMH, your blood is delicious," she said before she noticed how a frown made its way on his face. "What's wrong?" "It's just, you didn't say Kapuchu like Omote-chan. I thought it would have been really cute if you did," he said, a bit disappointed, causing Yura's eye to twitch. Idiot, she muttered as she shook her head and made her way towards the club. Naruto noticed that she had a bit of a spring to her step and wondered if his blood really that much of an effect on her. But then again he remembered Anko saying how delicious his blood was. Pushing those thoughts away, he followed Yura. The two of them reached the room and opened the door. They walked in and then walked back out to make sure they were in the right room. Sure enough, the number on the door was correct. They looked back into the room and were wondering what the hell was going on. Yura-chan, is this actually happening? Naruto asked in a confused tone. I believe so, Yura said, just as stumped as her blonde friend. Right in front of them was Yukari Sendo, the witch that Naruto befriended. However, the thing that stumped them was the little witch was currently fondling Omote's breasts. The poor vampire's face was so red from embarrassment, as she let out an involuntary moan from the action. Sukun was on the side, blushing up a storm as he sported a nosebleed. Hey guys, what's going on? Naruto asked, gaining the attention of the others. Yukari saw them and smiled before releasing Omote from her grasp as she ran over to them. Naruto, Yura-san, you're here! She cheered as she jumped into the blonde's arms, giving him a hug. It's been a while, Yukari. How have you been? Yura asked as the witch left Naruto's arms before looking at the silver-haired girl. I've been doing well, Yura-san. I was ranked number 1 again, she answered. That's great, Yukari-chan, Naruto praised. Indeed, it is rather impressive. It's a shame though. Since I was with this idiot, I didn't get a chance to look at my own standing, Yura said as she pointed at Naruto, who began to sulk. See what I mean, Yukari-chan? 1 minute she's nice, but 5 seconds later she's calling me an idiot, Naruto said as he cried anime tears, causing Yukari to giggle. If you're wondering what your scores were, you were ranked 5th, Yura-san, she said, causing Yura to gain a pleased smile. Oh, did you see what rank I got, Yukari-chan? Naruto asked curiously. You're 152nd, but don't worry, I'm sure you'll do better next time, Yukari said. Is 152 the worst rank I could get? Naruto asked. No, but I'd say it is about just below average. No idea if that's true or not, Yura answered. Hearing this, Naruto lowered his head, his hair shadowing his eyes. The others thought he was depressed about his grades, so they were surprised when he pumped his fist in the air with a huge grin on his face. Yes, I'm not the dead last, he cheered, causing the others to sweat drop. After his own little celebration, he turned to Yukari. So what was happening here? Yura-chan and I walked in on a very interesting scene, Naruto asked, Yura nodding, also wondering what was happening. Oh, that, well, it's simple really, Yukari said as she ran towards Omote and clung to her arm possessively. Earlier today, Omote-san defended me. She was so brave. Not only is she smart and beautiful, but she's also so heroic. I think this is what you call love at first sight, Yukari said with a dreamy expression. The other 4 occupants blinked at her declaration before her words sunk in. They shouted. Even Yura was surprised at what she said and couldn't hide it. What on earth are you talking about? Sukun shouted. Yukari looked at him as if she was sizing him up before releasing a sigh. Please try to stay out of our way, she said, the brown-haired boy. Huh, was the intelligent reply from Sukun. I know all about you. Your name is Sukunono, grades average, athletic ability average, and you have no hobbies or anything that sets you apart from the other students here. Simply put, you are too plain to be around someone as radiant as Omote-san. In fact, you shouldn't act so friendly around Yura-san as well, Yukari explained. No need to worry, Yukari. He is merely an acquaintance of mine, Yura supplied from her corner while Naruto had a cheeky grin. I used to be one too, but then got promoted to friend, Naruto added, the whole time Sukun's eye began to twitch uncontrollably. Hey, wait a minute. Why am I the only one you're against? Naruto's grades are worse than mine, he protested. Hey! Came the indignant cry from Naruto. He has a point, Yura said calmly as a rain cloud appeared over Naruto's head as he sulked. You have a point, but compared to your stats it isn't even fair to compare you to him. Name Naruto Uzumaki, grades below average. Okay, we get it. I'm not the best student, Naruto cried while Omote patted his back trying to calm him down. Athletic ability is above average. Hobbies include playing pranks and fighting. What sets him apart from the other students is that he is a capable fighter and has defeated multiple people without revealing his true form. He also has rare abilities such as walking on water. As you can see, the only thing you have against him is that you're slightly smarter than him in school, and even that isn't saying much, Yukari informed as she waved a dismissive hand at Tsukun. I'm not certain, but I'm pretty sure I just got insulted somehow, Naruto said slowly. You may not be the dead last, but you are far from being the sharpest nail in the toolbox, Kurama said from within his mind. Nails? Toolbox? What the hell do they have to do with being smart? Naruto asked confused. You've just proven my point. Kurama sighed before closing the link between the two of them. What the hell is it with everyone calling me an idiot today? Naruto thought to himself in frustration. He was snapped back into reality just in time to hear Yukari's declaration. I love Mocha-san. I refuse to allow her to be brought into the dirt by you, she said as she pointed an accusing finger at Tsukun, who grew a tick mark in annoyance. Because of this, I declare war on you, she said as she pulled out a small wand with a heart at the end of it. What are you going to do with a little toy? Tsukun deadpanned, causing Yukari's eye to twitch. I'll show you what this little toy can do when I use it to keep you away from Mocha-san, Yukari shouted as she swung the wand around. The others watched but were a bit confused when nothing happened. Tsukun was about to say something but was interrupted when a book suddenly crashed into the back of his head. He rubbed the back of his head and turned around but saw that no one was behind him. What the? Who threw this at me? He asked. He turned around and saw another book heading right for him. He fell to the ground, rubbing his face trying to figure what was happening. He looked up and his eyes widened when he saw multiple books flying in the air above him. So are you impressed by my little toy? With this magic wand I am able to use magic to control these books, Yukari explained with a mischievous smile. With a single twist of if the rest of the books in the air stopped their movement and fell onto the human, who groaned in pain. Know this, Tsukun. We witches are masters of magic, and I will use everything I know to make you and other boys stay away from Omote-san, Yukari declared. She turned around to leave the room but paused and looked back at them. Bye Naruto Yura-san. It was good to see you again, she said as she waved goodbye. See ya around, Yukari-chan, Naruto called back as he waved at the girl. It was nice to meet you again, Yukari, Yura said as she nodded towards the witch before leaving. So what do you guys think about Yukari-chan? Naruto asked casually. She can be a bit excitable, but it is expected from one her age, Yura answered while Tsukun and Omote stared at them incredulously. Naruto noticed their looks and raised an eyebrow at them. What? Is there something on my face? He asked as he felt around his face trying to find something. How can you two act so calm? Did you not see just what happened? Tsukun asked as he waved his arms around comically. You're right, I did see what happened, and it would appear that you have a serious problem, Tsukun, Naruto said, his tone becoming surprisingly serious. Tsukun blinked at the sudden change but sighed in relief. It looked like Naruto understood him after all. There's no telling how much Yukari could cause him with her magic. It would appear that you have a rival for Omo-chan's heart, he said seriously before he started to laugh as Tsukun's face faltered. Be serious here, he human shouted. Naruto calmed himself down before looking at Tsukun curiously. I am being serious. Now it's fair. Omo-chan and Kurama-chan are rivals for you, while you and Yukari-chan are rivals for Omo-chan, Naruto explained. Once his words registered Omote, and Tsukun blushed furiously. What are you talking about? They both shouted as Naruto laughed at their flustered appearances. Even Yura found this scene to be a bit amusing. What about you, Yura-san? Tsukun asked after regaining his composure. Yura looked at the human before shrugging her shoulders. If you want my honest opinion, then here it is. While I find her obsession with my sister odd, I have no problem with her personally. If she sticks with her objective of keeping hormonal boys away from her, then that is just a bonus, Yura explained, causing Tsukun's head to slump. I have a feeling she will be responsible for a lot of my future headaches. The human groaned. Relax, Sukun, I'm sure she'll warm up to you. Omote tried to reassure him. A short while later Kurumu arrived and the group began their club activity. Soon Omote left the room in order to find Nikonome-sensei. Yura decided to go with her in order to make sure none of her fanboys get any funny ideas. Naruto decided to go with them in order to give Kurumu and Tsukun some alone time, much to Tsukun's despair and Kurumu's delight. Yukari Sendo? Kurumu asked after Tsukun explained what happened before she arrived. Yeah, that little girl is going to be the death of me. And she also said she's going to keep Omote-san away from me. Tsukun stated as he banged his head against the desk he was sitting at. What he didn't know was that Kurumu had some very pleasant thoughts. This is great. Because of this, Yukari, my biggest obstacle for Tsukun's heart is taken away. I don't know what I did to deserve this, but thank you, she mentally cheered now that her rival in love would be too preoccupied with the little witch. I have heard some rumors about her though. Even though she's a genius, they say she acts like a selfish kid. She always plays pranks on students, so not many people like her. Kurumu commented as Tsukun raised an eyebrow in curiosity. Really? He asked, but what they didn't see was the tip of a witch hat that could be seen by the window. Yukari was crouched down, hiding by the window of the clubroom, preparing her form of attack. With this I will destroy the bond between you and Omote-san. Prepare yourself, Tsukun, for my magical item Warakun, Yukari said as she pulled out a strange-looking straw doll. She grabbed the doll's arm with a smile and moved it so it punched itself in the face. Back in the room as Tsukun and Kurumu were talking, Tsukun's arm suddenly moved and punched himself in the face. Aha! He screamed in pain as his nose began to bleed. Tsukun-kun! Why did you do that? Kurumu shouted, both confused and worried. I don't know. My arm just moved on its own, Tsukun said as he clutched his nose. Outside, Yukari was giggling as she moved the straw doll around, which resulted in Tsukun copying its movements. It was because of this that caused Tsukun to suddenly grab and squeeze Kurumu's breasts. It was at that moment that the others walked into the room. Sorry guys, but we couldn't find Sensei, Omote said before she froze at the sight in front of her. We would have been here sooner, but we had to make an intervention because of Yuri-chan, Naruto added before looking at the rest of the room occupants, and like Omote, he was shocked at what he saw. It is not my fault that the fool had the nerve to invade my personal space. He's lucky that I only broke his arm. If you were not there, then I would have ended his sorry life. Yura scoffed before raising an eyebrow at the scene in front of them. Right in front of them stood Tsukun, who was groping Kurumu's chest. Said Sakuba's face was so red it was almost glowing. The other three just stared at them as the room was filled with silence. Finally, Naruto broke it by speaking. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you too, he said as he nudged the vampires out of the room and closed the door behind them. It's not what it looks like, Tsukun shouted in frustration. Today was not his day. When the others walked back into the room, Tsukun explained what actually happened. The others were skeptical, but then they heard someone giggling. Turning towards the window, they saw the top of a witch's hat. Connecting the dots, Tsukun ran to the window, reached out, and grabbed the young girl by the back of her cloak. He pulled her inside and glared at her. I knew she was behind it, he said as he pointed at the girl. Yukari was about to say something but stopped when she saw the disappointed look in Naruto's eyes. Yukari-chan, you and I have talked about playing pranks. Don't you remember what I told you? He asked as he shook his head. Yes, Yukari said as she felt like a child being scolded by their parent. Seeing this, Tsukun smirked, thinking that the little girl would get what's coming to her. I have told you time and time again that if you are playing a prank on someone, then make sure you don't get caught, otherwise it ruins the mystery of trying to figure out who's behind it. He continued, causing the human to face fault. That's what's bothering you, he shouted in disbelief. Remember to hide your presence better next time, Yukari-chan, Naruto said, ignoring Tsukun's outburst. Don't encourage her, Tsukun shouted but was once again ignored. On the sidelines, the three girls' sweat dropped at their antics. Yukari just laughed at him before she ran behind Omote's leg, and then she pulled her eyelid and stuck her tongue at the boy, causing the boy's eye to twitch. Now Tsukun, maybe you should calm down, Omote suggested, trying to keep things calm. It was just a prank. No one got hurt, Naruto added. Plus, I bet Kuruma-chan enjoyed it, he thought as he glanced at the succubus, who still had a small blush. Sukun didn't hear a word from them though, since he was too caught up in his annoyance. What's with you guys? You're being too soft on her. If you don't tell her when she's doing more harm than good, it's only going to hurt her in the long run, Sukun reasoned. The room was quiet, but Omote finally answered. I guess so, but, she said a bit hesitantly. I'm doing more harm than good. Am I just another bother to Omote-san? To Naruto? Yukari thought worriedly. Naruto noticed her nervous expression, but Sukun kept going. If she spends all her time being your bodyguard, she'll lose her friends and wind up alone, he added, not knowing about Yukari's status around the school. Yukari flinched a little before she schooled her features. I don't really mind. I'm a genius after all. Besides, why would I want such low-ability friends like you anyway? She said. What did you say? The aggravated human asked. Besides, I'm used to it, she said softly. What? Sukun asked, confused. Being alone. I've always been alone, so I'm used to it, she explained. Naruto looked at her sympathetically, knowing the feeling. Yukari, Sukun said, feeling a little regret from what he said. He was about to apologize when Yukari waved her wand around and a basin appeared out of thin air and landed on Sukun's head. Like I'd let you get me that easily, she taunted before running out of the room. That's it, he cried. He was about to give chase, but Omote blocked his path. What are you doing? She shouted, a little angry that her friend could be so mean to a child. Why are you at me? Sukun asked, a bit surprised. Didn't she see the tricks that Yukari pulled on him? I know that her pranks were a little much, but still. You're older, you should be more mature about this, Omote said. I would, but she's taking it a bit too far to just ignore. I think we should just forget about her, Sukun suggested, causing Omote to frown. But Sukun, she started, but the boy didn't listen as he rubbed his head. The basin that fell was really heavy. She's been making me suffer a lot. Why are you taking her side? He asked, a bit annoyed that his friend didn't seem to care. It's not that, but why can't you understand? Can't you look at it from Yukari-chan's point of view and try to understand her feelings? She asked before running out the door. Omote-san, he called out, but either she didn't hear him, or she ignored him because she kept going. I guess I can understand what she's saying. I mean, it must be pretty hard for her here since she's a witch and all, Kuruma commented. What does her being a witch have to do with anything? Sukun asked. It has a lot to do with it, actually, seeing as how she is a part of a hated race, Yura answered, her arms crossed as she looked towards the direction where Omote ran. Hated race? He repeated. Witches are considered as half-breeds. They're in the boundary between humans and yokai. They are a bit of both. Humans fear them while yokai see them as a disgrace, Kuruma explained. When Naruto and I first met her, she didn't have a single friend. Apparently Naruto was the first person to ever offer their friendship to her, Yura added. Sukun silently listened as he began to feel guilt for the words he said and how he said it. Damn it, I didn't know. I have to find her and apologize, he said as he clenched his fist in frustration. How could he act like that without knowing the facts? Then let's go, Kuruma said before looking around. Hey, where'd Naruto go? I don't know, Sukun said as he looked around, their blonde-haired friend nowhere to be seen. He left shortly after Omote did, Yura answered. She was the only one to notice the blonde slip out of the window, and she knew he would go after Yukari and Omote, which is why she stayed here. While she wouldn't admit it out loud, she knew she could trust Naruto to keep Omote safe. Well, we better go find them, Sukun said as he ran out the door, Kuruma following right behind them. Yura also followed, but at a more relaxed pace. With Yukari. The little witch was running through the school grounds, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, but she refused to let them fall. She should have known this would happen. She was a witch, and witches don't make friends with other yokai. Pretty soon she found herself in the middle of a forest until she bumped into someone, causing her to fall on the ground. She looked up to see who she ran into, and her eyes widened in fear when she saw who was standing in front of her. Don't you know that it's rude to run into someone without apologizing, Yukari-san? The class representative said with a dark grin on his face. What are you doing here? She asked nervously. She took a step back but found herself surrounded by the class representative's friends. What's wrong? You're not leaving already, are you? It's been a while since we hung out, he said as he stalked over to the girl, licking his lips with a lizard-like tongue. You've been a thorn in my side for some time, and now you don't have your bodyguards to protect you. Looks like I finally get to teach you a lesson, he said, looking down at her before he grabbed the collar of her shirt. Kaya! She screamed as she was thrown into a nearby tree. So disgusting. We have no need for a witch in our class. He spat as his skin became covered in scales. The entire group soon transformed until their whole body was covered in scales and their faces resembled the heads of lizards. I think it's about time I get rid of you, the class representative hissed, his slitted eyes staring down at the scared witch. I won't go down that easily, she said as she pulled out her wand. She was about to cast a spell, but the lizard man lunged forward and bit the wand, trapping it in his sharp teeth. He spit it out, looked at her with a smug expression. Now that you can't do anything, what should we do? He asked. I know. We should eat her. We're so far away from the school that no one will ever know, one of the others said. The class representative thought about it and grinned. You know what? That sounds like an excellent idea. No, without my wand I can't use my magic, a panicked Yukari thought. Looks like this is the end for you, the class representative shouted as he opened his mouth, revealing his sharp teeth before charging at the girl. Stop it! A voice shouted. They turned to see a worried Omote running towards them. Don't hurt Yukari-chan, she said as she stood in front of the girl protectively. Damn it. You caught us at a really bad time, Omote-san, he said with narrowed eyes. Not wanting her to get hurt, Yukari tried to get her to leave. Just run, Omote-san. If you stay here you'll just get eaten. Just forget about me and run away, she shouted, hoping she would listen. It's okay. I'm willing to fight for you. Don't act so tough. It's alright if you ask for help when things get too tough for you, Omote said with a gentle smile. What? She asked, shocked. Be honest. When you say you love me, the truth is you want someone to be kind to you, someone to be your friend. Your pranks are just a way for you to get the attention you want, she continued. This is no time for you to be saying things like that. Just get out of here, Yukari shouted. I understand that it was difficult being alone for so long. I've always felt alone too, but no matter what I always had my sister by my side and it made the pain easier to bear. So let me stand by your side and be your friend too, she finished with a smile. Why the hell are you talking like we're not here? The class representative shouted. He was about to charge at Omote, but Yukari bit the arm of the hand that was holding her, drawing his attention. What are you doing? He asked in annoyance as he raised his arm to strike her down, but at the last minute Tsukun came from nowhere and pulled her away. Tsukun! Omote shouted when she saw the clawed hand of the lizard man graze his shoulder. Tsukun! Why did you do that? Why are you here? Yukari asked, confused that the boy she tormented would help her. I'm sorry, Yukari. If I had understood you a little better I would have said such insensitive things to you. Please let me help you too, that way you won't be alone anymore, he said, shocking the little girl. At that moment Kurumu and Yura arrived at the scene. Kurumu was looking at Tsukun worriedly, but Yura was looking around the field they were at. Strange, Naruto left before all of us, so where is he? Yura thought as she tried to find him. I don't know why you guys keep trying to interfere with us, but I had enough, the class representative said as he glared at the human and witch. Don't take as lightly, you fools, one of his friends shouted as he charged at the two of them. Before he could touch them though, a flying body tackled him hard, sending him crashing into a tree with enough force to knock him out. What the hell? The other said before another body crashed into him, and like with the first one he hit a tree with enough force to knock him out. What's happening? The representative asked before a third body was thrown in front of his feet, revealing a beaten lizard man. The boss cough. We tried to stop him cough, but he was too strong, he said before his eyes rolled to the back of his head. Sorry I'm late, but I got lost on the road of life, a voice said from the distance. They looked and saw Naruto walking towards them at a casual pace, but with a cold look he stared at the only lizard man left standing. What the? I sent those 3 to stop you. How did you beat all 3 of them? He asked, surprised. If you think they would be able to stand them because they outnumber me, then you're even more pathetic than I thought, Naruto said as he stood by the group, his eyes never leaving the class representatives. Naruto, you're here, Yukari said with a smile, glad to see her first friend. Naruto glanced at her and noticed her uniform was a bit ruffled and had other signs showing she was pushed around. He narrowed his eyes as his pupils turned into slits. I thought I warned you. I said that if you mess with her again, then I will kill you, he hissed, glaring at the lizard man in front of him, who took a step back. You know what? I've had just about enough of you, he shouted as he charged at the blonde. The feeling's mutual. Rasengan, he shouted as he ran towards his opponent, a ball of spiraling blue light in hand. He avoided the claw aimed at his head as he rammed the Rasengan into his chest, sending the lizard man flying through the air, crashing through multiple trees until he finally hit the ground with his eyes rolled to the back of his head. You okay, Yukari-chan? Naruto asked as he approached the girl. After everything I've done to you, why did you help me? Yukari asked, looking at Tsukun. Because I'd like to be friends and I always help my friends. What do you say? Tsukun asked with a smile. Hearing this caused the dam to break. She ran into Tsukun's arms and cried. She made other friends. People who accepted her. Naruto watched with a grin as the younger girl hugged the poor human to death. Didn't I tell you everything would be alright? Now you made some more friends, the blonde said, causing the girl to smile. You were right, Naruto. Thank you too for everything. I promise I'll find a way to repay you, she said through tears as she looked at her first friend. The group began to make their way back to school and Yukari glanced around. She looked at Omote and Tsukun, who were walking in front of her, and had a light blush. Omote, who was considered a goddess amongst the students, stood up for her and wanted to befriend her. Tsukun, someone who she tormented, helped her when he could have just left her alone after all the things she did and said to him. 2 people who she never thought would talk to her were now her friends. She looked behind her at the one responsible for all this, Naruto, who saw past the fact she was a witch and became her friend. Her very first friend. She watched as he walked beside Yura. He said something that made her blush, causing him to laugh. Not liking this, she stomped on his foot, smirking when he cried in pain. Yukari watched with interest. It seemed that those 2 were pretty close. A mischievous gleam appeared in her eyes as she smiled. She just thought of a way to repay Naruto for all that he has done for her. Next day. It looks like Yukari-chan has really changed for the better, Omote said as she carried a box of supplies. Yeah, I heard she apologized to everyone that she pranked too, Kuruma added. Looks like things are finally looking up for her, Naruto said, Yura nodding in agreement. I think she also got over that obsession with you, Omote-chan, Kuruma said. Looks like she's growing up, Omote mused as they opened the door to the club room. I love you, Tsukun-kun, Yukari said as she hugged the confused boy by the waist, causing the others who just entered to face fault. What are you doing, Yukari-chan? Omote asked. Hey guys. I just joined the newspaper club. Please treat me well, she informed them with a smile. You joined? Naruto asked with a smile. Yup. I decided to be closer to my friends. That way I can be with Tsukun-kun and Omote-chan, she said with a dreamy expression before walking towards them. I love you both. Will you please go out with me? She asked. EHH? Everyone shouted. I still love Omote-chan, but it seems that I have fallen for Tsukun-kun too, she said with a blush, causing the others to sweat drop. Well, if that's what your heart is telling you, then go for it, Yukari-chan, Naruto cheered with a grin. Don't encourage her, Tsukun shouted in exasperation, but her was ignored. Thanks a lot, Naruto and Ai-san, she said with a bright smile. Ni-san? Naruto repeated with a raised eyebrow. Yup. You're kinda like the big brother I always wanted. You don't mind, do you? Not at all, he said, grinning, causing her to beam. Good, because I also figured out how I'm going to repay you, she exclaimed. And how are you going to do that? Kuruma asked curiously. By getting him a girlfriend, she declared, pumping her fist into the air. The room was silent again until her words registered. What? Naruto asked, shocked. I have decided that the only way to repay you was to help you find love. So I'm going to help you get a girlfriend. In fact, I already have the perfect girl in mind, she said with a mischievous smile. I feel sorry for whoever you have in mind, Yura said. I wouldn't say that since I'm pairing him up with Yura-san, Yukari said, causing the room to fall silent again. What? Naruto and Yura shouted, both sporting small blushes on their faces. I have decided that the only girl worthy enough for my Nii-san is Yura-san. Why on earth would I want to pursue a relationship with an idiot like him? A blushing Yura said as she pointed at Naruto, who looked a bit offended. And what the hell is that supposed to mean? He asked with a twitching eyebrow. If you did not understand that simple sentence, then it only further proves my point. Oh yeah, well, who would want to be in a relationship with a scary-ass girl like you? He shot back. It was now her turn to have a twitch in her eye. I am not scary. Tell that to the children whose souls you've eaten. Want to say that again, you blonde-haired buffoon? Why? Couldn't hear me over the screams of fear from your victims? On the sidelines, Kuruma's sweat dropped as she watched Naruto and Yura argue while Yukari chased Omote and Tsukun while declaring her love. Shaking her head at them, she sighed. At least it isn't boring with them. Chapter 8. Tsukun was currently sitting in the club room thinking about his time at the academy. Glancing at his side, he smiled when he saw Omote, who was reading a book of some kind. My birthday is coming soon. If I could spend it with Omote-san, that would be amazing, he thought with a blush as images of him and Omote alone entered his mind. He was brought back to reality when he felt something hit his head. Quit daydreaming, we have things to do here, Jin said, rolling his eyes. Did you have to hit me, Jin-senpai? Tsukun asked as he rubbed his head, but the club president ignored him. Instead, he looked at Omote and raised an eyebrow. An art book? Are you working on a painting or something, Omote-san? Jin asked, startling the vampire. No. It's nothing really, she said with a small blush as she tried to hide the book she was reading. You're looking as beautiful as always, Omote-san. So how about we go on a date sometime, my love? Jin asked with a charming smile. How is he able to confess his love so easily? Tsukun thought to himself, but sweat dropped when he saw Jin chase Omote around the room asking for a date. Yahoo, another day with my destined one. You have no idea how much I love you, Tsukun-kun, Kuruma shouted as she appeared out of nowhere before suffocating the poor boy with her breasts as she hugged the life out of him. Kuruma-chan? He shouted as he felt himself getting tackled. Stay away from them, Yukari shouted as she ran into the room swinging her wand. Suddenly a dustpan and a desk appeared over the heads of Kuruma and Jin before falling on them, causing them to crash onto the floor. Anyone who comes between Tsukun-kun and Omote-chan will have to deal with my magic, the young witch declared. I won't let you get in the way of our love, she finished. Who the hell is she? Jin asked as he stood up on shaky legs. That's Yukari-chan, or new club member, Omote explained with a sweat drop. How can they express their love so easily? But I can't, Tsukun thought as he cried anime tears, but then he clutched his fist in determination. I refuse to give up. I will find a way to confess my feelings. I'll do it on my birthday. Just then the club door was kicked open. They looked up and were surprised to see an annoyed Naruto and Yura. But what shocked them even more was that the two of them were handcuffed together. They ignored the curious looks from the others and settled their gaze on Yukari, who tried to hide behind Omote. Don't even bother hiding, Yukari-chan, we see you, Naruto said as he and Yura walked towards her. You will release us from this now, or so help me, Yura growled out. Yura-chan, what happened? Omote asked. It would seem that our resident child genius decided to play a prank. Unfortunately, she chose the wrong target. Yura said as she glared at the little witch cried in protest. This was not some simple prank, she shouted. Then what exactly is this? Naruto asked as he raised his handcuffed hand, lifting Yura's in the process. It was part of my plan to help you two realize your love for each other, she said, causing the room to fall silent. What? Jin shouted in horror. How could she even think Yura would love Naruto when it was so obvious the silver-haired vampire had feelings for him? At least it was obvious to him. Why don't you tell us what happened? Sukun suggested. Kuruma by his side nodded in agreement. Naruto sighed but complied as he began to explain what happened earlier. Flashback, earlier today. Naruto and Yura were walking to the club room. Their uniforms were a bit wrinkled and they had a few bruises. They agreed to have a spar at least once a week to make sure their skills to not get rusty. Just when I think I have you cornered, you find a way to surprise me, Yura said as she pulled a stray lock of hair behind her ear. What can I say? Back at my village I had a reputation of being quite the unpredictable warrior. But I have to say your kicks are insane, Naruto said as he massaged his jaw. Naruto and I. Yura-san, a voice called out. They turned around and saw Yukari running towards them. Hey Yukari-chan, how's it going? Naruto asked as she reached them. I'm good, but what happened to you guys? She asked. Nothing really, we just had a light spar. Yura answered, although their light spars were far more challenging than most of the fights they've been in since the school year started. I see, do you do this often? She asked curiously. No one noticed as she reached into her backpack. We try to do it at least once a week so we can stay in shape, Naruto said. Just as they were about to turn a corner, Naruto felt something latch around his wrist. He looked down and saw that his hand was caught in a handcuff. Quicker than they could react, Yukari grabbed the other end of the handcuffs and latched it to Yura's wrist. Blinking in confusion, she pulled her arm and Naruto's followed it. What did you do? She asked in annoyance when she realized what happened. Helping, was her simple answer as she opened the door to a supply closet. She quickly pushed Naruto in the closet, the handcuffs forcing Yura to follow him. As she crashed into the blonde's body, Yukari closed the door and locked it, never once losing her smile. Now then, while I go to the club room, I want you two to stay here and realize your burning love for each other, Yukari said through the door. If you think this little trinket will keep me trapped, you are very foolish, Yukari, Yura said as she tried to snap the handcuffs off, but to her surprise she found that she couldn't. I'm not called a child genius for nothing. I knew you could break ordinary handcuffs, so I got an enchanted pair. It acts like a limiter, sealing your yuki and strength until it matches an ordinary human. Have fun, you two. Yukari giggled before running towards the room. Inside the closet, Yura was busy trying to break the handcuffs, but to no avail. It seemed like it really did block out her strength. She glared at it before looking at Naruto, who had a bored look on his face as he looked around the closet they were in. What are you just standing there? Do something about this blasted thing, she said as gestured towards the handcuffs. Naruto raised an eyebrow before shrugging. He reached into his blazer and pulled out a kunai, causing Yura to raise an eyebrow this time. She would have to ask why he always carried those with him. She watched as he tried to cut the chain with the knife, but it didn't even leave a scratch. He continued this for a while but didn't make any progress. This thing is pretty tough, he commented before stashing his kunai away. When I get out of here, she will pay. Yura growled as she tried to kick the door down, but to her surprise nothing happened. Wow, these things really work, Naruto observed as looked at the handcuffs. He had his doubts about their ability to seal their yuki. While I am glad to see you so impressed with this contraption, I would appreciate it if you could help find a way to get out of here, she growled. She was facing away from him so he wouldn't see the blush on her face. She tried to force it down but couldn't due to the close proximity between the two of them. Handcuffed to a beautiful girl in a cramped place like this. I hope Ero-sennin never finds out about this, or else I'll definitely end up in his next book, Naruto thought to himself. How about we just listen to Yukari-chan and lose ourselves to our burning passion for each other, he offered. Hearing this caused Yura's blush to increase tenfold. I'm being serious here, you fool, she shouted as she punched him in the stomach. He grunted in pain as he rubbed his stomach before looking at the door. All right, let's see what we can do, he said as he pulled out his kunai again and spun it around his finger, thinking of a way to escape this. End of flashback. Then I just used my kunai to take down the door hinges, he explained. So if you would please get this thing off of us, it would be really appreciated, Yura said as she tried to keep her temper in check. Yukari looked at them and sighed. It looked like her plan failed. Oh well, this was only the beginning. She had more ideas up her sleeve. Reaching into her pocket, she pulled out a key and unlocked the handcuffs. To think that Yura-san had to endure being stuck with you. Don't worry, spending some time with me should make her feel better, Jin said. Before Yukari could even put the handcuffs away, Jin snatched them out of her hand and hooked one of the ends around his wrist. He grabbed Yura's arm and tried to place the other end around her wrist, but she was not having any of that. Thanks to her advanced reflexes, the vampire was able to shift her body until she was standing behind him. She grabbed his other arm and trapped it so his arms were trapped behind his back. You would dare try to invade my space in such a manner? She asked ominously. Now Yura-san, calm down, Jin said nervously, but Yura did not hear him. I thought I told you last time, you lowly dog, to know your place, she shouted as she kicked Jin in the face, sending him flying through the window. What a shame. Looks like Aromut will never learn, Naruto said before a feeling of dread washed over him. He looked around and saw that Yura was walking towards him, a dark aura spread around her. Do not think that I have forgotten about that suggestion from earlier, she growled as Naruto began to sweat nervously. Relax, Yura-chan, I was just trying to lighten the mood with some humor, he said as he inched towards the door. You call that humor? When I'm done with you, you will know better than to say such things to me, she yelled as she charged at the blonde. Naruto, not wanting to be on the receiving end of her rage, ran out of the room, but his peace was short-lived when he noticed Yura chasing after him. Get back over here, Naruto, they heard her shout. I'm sorry. Please don't kill me, came the frightened yell of Naruto, hoping to escape the vampire's wrath. Back in the clubroom, the other could only sweat drop at their friend's antics. Never a dull moment with those two around. I really hope your sister doesn't kill him, Omo-chan, Kuruma said. Although she won't admit it, she really cares about Naruto. I'm sure she won't kill him, I think, she said a bit hesitantly in the end. I think your plan may have backfired, Yukari-chan, Sukun said as he looked at Yukari. Have no fear, Sukun-kun. This was only the first step. I have faith that those two will get together, the young witch said with conviction. Oh, Kami, not there. Anywhere but there. They heard Naruto's frantic shout from wherever he was. Then again, Rome wasn't built in a day, Yukari said sheepishly. As it turned out, Naruto never returned to the clubroom. When Yura returned alone, she simply said that Naruto was thinking about what he did, and why he should never anger her again. Not wanting to get on her bad side, they let the subject drop while saying a silent prayer, hoping their blonde friend was alright. Eventually it was time for them to leave and head for their dorm rooms. I'll see you late, Sukun, Omote said as she waved her friend goodbye. We're not going back together? He asked, confused. Usually he would always walk her to her room before heading to his own. Sorry, but I have other plans, she apologized as she held a book closer to her chest, which Sukun noticed. Isn't that the art book from earlier? He asked curiously. Yeah, you see, the art teacher asked me to model for a project and I agreed. So I'll be busy for a week, she explained. Hearing this caused Sukun to fall on his knees as he banged the ground with his fist, anime tears falling down his face. A week? Does that mean she'll miss my birthday? There goes my plan for confessing to her, he cried in despair as Omote watched him worriedly. She blinked a few times before a thought came to her, and she smiled. Don't worry, I'll still perform my duties for the newspaper club, she reassured him, but it didn't do a thing to calm him down. That's not what I'm worried about. Could it be that she forgot about my birthday? I could have sworn I told her about it, Sukun thought to himself as he began to sulk. I guess I understand. It's only reasonable that I support you when you find something that interests you, he said, making Omote to smile brilliantly. With that, the two of them went their separate ways, not noticing a bruised and whimpering Naruto leaning against a tree. Newspaper club next day. I'm just saying, yesterday you overreacted, Naruto said from his seat. And I'm saying to watch your tongue around me. You should have known how I would react to such a statement. Yura defended with her arms crossed. From the side, the others looked back and forth as the two of them argued. I wonder what happened yesterday. Yura never told us, Kuruma said. I asked Naruto this morning. He just stared at me, then started to shiver uncontrollably. Sukun supplied. That bad, huh? Yura-san can be really scary when she wants to, Kuruma commented. She has a very strong personality, Omote said, trying to come up with the right word. It's why she has a hard time making friends. Which makes my mission that more important. Not only is Yura-san the only one worthy for Naruto and I, but he's the only one strong enough to handle her, Yukari said, but a loud thud caught their attention. I thought you had learned your lesson. A blushing Yura huffed as she looked away from Naruto, whose head was lying on the desk with a large lump forming. Looks like he said something when he should have kept his mouth shut, again, Kuruma observed as they released a collective sigh. All right, enough horsing around, Jin exclaimed as he slammed his hand against the chalkboard, bringing everyone's attention to him. What's wrong, Aromat? Naruto asked, causing the werewolf to twitch at the nickname. There's a new problem around school. Apparently girls have gone missing. Missing? Omote repeated as everyone listened carefully. Yes. You see, female students have been disappearing one after another without a trace. In 1 month 7 girls have already vanished, Jin explained with an uncharacteristically serious look. He looked around to see the others looking at him with rapt attention. He paused though when he saw Naruto and Yura looking at him with a suspicious look. What? He asked, his serious look replaced with a confused frown. You said the targets were girls, and we know how much you love girls. Naruto started thoughtfully. Considering what we know of your abilities and the fact that you are a pervert, it wouldn't really surprise me if you were somehow connected to this. Yura finished. The others blinked as they thought over their words before looking at Jin thoughtfully, causing the werewolf to face fault. It wasn't me, he shouted. I don't know, you could just be trying to throw us off the wrong track. And being a member of the newspaper club could be the perfect cover, Naruto said as he continued to stare him down. Damn it! It wasn't me, you stupid underclassman, Jin yelled as he pulled his hair in frustration. Honestly, what did he ever do to them to earn their distrust? Oh yeah, he tried to frame the boys in this room in hopes of making the vampires his. Alright, we believe you, Naruto said, but it was clear in his voice that he was still wary. As you can see, I have some basic information on the missing girls. He stared, but Naruto interrupted him. So you already have information on them before the investigation even started, he observed. A little suspicious if you ask me, Yura commented as Jin began to bang his head against the board. Trying to calm himself, he looked back at the room. If we're done joking around, I'd like to continue, he said. Wow, despite his playboy attitude, he can be pretty serious when it counts, Sukun thought, impressed. As you can tell from the pictures, the missing girls are very hot. If someone is holding them hostage, I have to find a way to save them. If they see my heroic actions, then they'll be so thankful that they might fall in love with me, Jin finished as he clutched his fist in determination. That's his motivation, Sukun thought in disbelief. First Kakashi and his Aika books, then Erosen, a self-proclaimed super pervert, and now this guy. Why do I always attract these weirdos? Naruto thought dejectedly. Eventually the meeting was over and the others left to do their own activities. Naruto was walking around casually when he noticed Sukun walking on unsteady legs. What's up, Sukun? He said, getting the human's attention. Oh hey Naruto, he greeted as he rubbed his neck. Omote-chan was probably here but left after getting a little snack, Naruto reasoned after seeing a light-headed Sukun make his way towards him. What's with you? You look like someone kicked a puppy or something, Naruto said, noticing his disheartened mood. Nothing, just some depressing thoughts, Sukun said. Care to share? It might make you feel better, he suggested. Tsukun seemed a bit hesitant but decided to speak. It's just Omote-san. I don't know what I am to her. Sometimes it feels like she just hangs around me so that she can suck my blood. He explained only to receive a bop on the head courtesy of Naruto. What was that for? He asked as he massaged his head. For being stupid. I don't know what brought those thoughts, but get them out of your head. Omote-chan adores you, Tsukun. You are much more than just a blood bank to her, Naruto said with a smile. Tsukun looked at him before allowing a smile to spread on his face as well. You're right, I guess I was just a little sad. I'm not sure, but I think Omote-san might have forgotten about my birthday, and I really wanted to spend it with her, he explained. So that's what happened. I guess I can understand that. I used to feel the same way, Naruto said, gaining Tsukun's attention. Despite being good friends with Naruto, they still didn't know much about his past. Really? He asked, interested. Yeah, you see, I'm an orphan. It's been that way since birth. Whenever my birthday came around, instead of being all happy and stuff, I was depressed because I had no one to spend the day with, he said, deciding not to tell him that people used to form mobs and attack him in hopes of ending the reign of the demon brat. Oh, was the only thing Tsukun could think to say. Compared to that, his problems seemed a bit small. So just relax. I'm sure everything will turn out alright in the end. Naruto finished with a smile. Yeah, thanks for the talk. I really needed it, Tsukun said, feeling much better. Next day, Tsukun was walking down the hallway with a determined look in his eyes. He looked around until his eyes landed on Omote, and he walked over to her. Omote-san, he said, gaining her attention. Just ask her to spend your birthday with you, he told himself. Do you need something, Tsukun? The pink-haired girl asked. Well, you see, it's a little noisy here. Let's go somewhere more quiet, he said nervously as he grabbed her wrist and led her away. Unfortunately, he took a few steps and bumped into someone. Looking down, he saw that he ran into Kuruma, whose face lit up when seeing him. Tsukun-kun! To think we would run into each other. It must be fate trying to bring us together. The succubus squealed as he grabbed him into a suffocating hug, burying his face into her bosom. Seeing this caused a tick mark to grow on Omote's head before she walked away. Sorry, Tsukun, but I have to go somewhere, she said, not looking back. Wait a second, he cried, trying to follow her, but it was impossible as Kuruma refused to let go. No matter what he tried, someone always got in the way, and Tsukun was unable to speak to Omote. Finally, it was the day before his birthday, and he was crying in despair. Damn it! Every time I try to talk to her, something gets in the way, he cried as he pulled his hair. Naruto stood by his side, rolling his eyes at his overdramatic friend. Yura was standing by his side, looking at Tsukun with a blank face. Naruto explained to her about the human's troubles, and while she somewhat understood, she thought he was taking it too seriously. They watched Tsukun as he continued to cry desperately until they couldn't take it anymore. Enough was enough, and Yura decided to speak her mind. Enough of your pathetic whining. If you wish to speak to my sister, then get up and do it, she said in annoyance. What's the point? Something's bound to get in my way, Tsukun said, defeated. Naruto and Yura looked at each other and nodded. Naruto grabbed the back of Tsukun's shirt and began to drag him around with Yura by his side. What are you doing? He asked, trying to get up, but he couldn't escape Naruto's grip. Sighing in defeat, he just let himself get dragged to wherever those two were taking him. They finally arrived at the art room, and he threw the boy inside. Now quit your complaining and just talk to her, Naruto ordered. You worry too much. I may not understand it, but my sister considers you to be a very important person. I'm sure nothing would please her more than spending your birthday with you, Yura said before she and Naruto left in order to provide Tsukun with some privacy. Those two can be awfully pushy at times, but they have a point. I should just ask her, Tsukun said to himself. He looked around to see he was alone in the room. Guess I'll just wait until she shows up, he said to himself. He looked around but heard a strange noise. He closed his eyes, trying to figure out what the sound was. Is someone crying? He asked himself when he figured out the sound. He looked around trying to focus on the sound. He searched the room and noticed a locker. The locker? Is someone in there? He asked as he opened the locker, expecting to see someone in there, but was surprised. Instead of seeing a person, he saw a statue of a girl, and the statue had tears running down its cheeks. What in the world? He asked himself as he studied the chapter. What are you doing here? A voice from behind asked dangerously. Sukun turned around and saw the art teacher Ishigami staring at him with a dark look. Ishigami-sensei. I'm sorry about just barging in here, I just needed to speak with Omote-san. A panicked Sukun said. Ishigami looked at the boy and her face cleared as she gave him a gentle smile. Sorry about that, Sukun-kun. I wasn't expecting someone here, so I was a bit surprised. She explained as she closed the locker door. You said you're here for Omote-san, right? Well, I'm sorry to say this, but she can't talk to you right now. She explained. Why not? He asked with a frown. He was about to say something else, but Omote just entered the room. Sukun, what are you doing here? She asked. Omote-san, I just wanted, he started, but the pink-haired girl pushed him out of the room. You have to leave, she said in a bit of a rush. What? He asked, hiding the hurt he felt. Here was someone he cared deeply for, and she was pushing him away before he could even speak. Wait a minute. I just wanted, he tried, but she kept pushing. Just go, Sukun. This is really important, I don't have any time to waste, she said, and Sukun felt his heart break. Spending time with me is a waste of time? Okay, I'm sorry for bothering you, he said in a monotone voice as he left the room. I guess I was wrong, I'm only a blood bank to you, he whispered, but Omote heard and flinched. She tried to say something, but Sukun was already gone. She was about to chase after him, but something grabbed her arm. I'm sorry, but I can't let you leave yet, Ishigami said. Newspaper clubroom. How strange, Yukari said as she looked into a crystal ball. What are you doing, Yukari-chan? Kuruma asked, bringing the attention to her. Divination, but something's wrong, she said. What do you mean? Naruto asked. According to this, there's a bad aura surrounding Tsukun-kun and Omote-chan, Yukari explained with a frown. What do you mean? Yura asked with a raised brow. Before she could explain, the door opened and a dejected Tsukun entered. Hey guys, he greeted. You're late, there's another girl missing, Jin said, gaining his attention. He looked at the picture Jin held up and his eyes widened. What the? He said as he grabbed the picture. Is something wrong, Tsukun-kun? Kuruma asked, concerned. This girl, I've seen her before, he said. Really? What do you know of her? It might help the investigation, Jin asked. Not much, but I just saw a statue that looks just like her, he said as he bit his thumb. This girl, I saw her visit Ishigami-sensei earlier today and now she's missing. Could it be a coincidence? But if it isn't, Omote-san could be in real danger. Without saying another word, he ran out of the room. He had a sinking feeling in his stomach. He had to make sure Omote was all right. What's his problem? Jin asked, confused, but no one had an answer. Art room. What happening, sensei? Why does your hair look like snakes? Omote asked as she backed away from the art teacher. I'm afraid that Tsukun-kun discovered something he shouldn't have. So to make sure nothing happens, I'll have to end our fun a little early and take care of him, she said with a gentle smile before he disappeared, and she glared at the vampire. Her snake-like hair charged at Omote, and one of them grabbed her wrist. Kia! She screamed as she was flung across the room, crashing through a closet door. Ow! She moaned before she heard crying. Blinking in confusion, she looked around and saw a couple of statues. Why are these statues crying? She asked herself as she inspected them before she felt something off. She looked at her arm and widened her eyes. The wrist that was bitten by the snake was turning into stone. What's happening? She asked. Fear could be heard in her voice. You have fallen victim to my powers. Any living thing that is bitten by my snake-like hair will turn into stone. Soon you will join my collection alongside the other girls, Ishigami said as she stalked over to her. You mean that you turn students into statues? Omot asked as she backed away. I guess you can say I'm a bit of a collector. When I see something beautiful, I just have to preserve it for all eternity. This is true art, she explained as she waved her arm in a sweeping gesture. Somewhere in the elemental nations, two figures wearing black cloaks with red clouds were walking. One of them had long blonde hair while the other had a hunched figure. Suddenly the blonde one stopped. What's wrong? The hunched one asked as he stopped to look at his partner. I don't know why, but I feel that someone has insulted Art HM, he explained with a frown. And what is that supposed to mean? That some fool is spouting nonsense. Probably saying something like art is supposed to be everlasting for all eternity, or something like that. Just the thought makes my skin crawl HM, the blonde said disgusted. You are a fool. The hunched one sighed before continuing on his way. Art is something that lasts within a moment HM. In other words, art is an explosion, he said in frustration. If he ever found out who gave him this feeling, they would pay. Yokai Academy? Now Omot-san, please join the rest of them, Ishigami said before sending her snakes after her. The snakes quickly wrapped themselves around her arms and legs, leaving her defenseless. I still can't get over how stunning you look. You should be thanking me because I will make sure it is captured forever, she said as the snake's hold tightened. The missing students, you were responsible, weren't you? Omot stated. Isn't it amazing? I was able to capture their sadness, their despair, art with real emotions. But don't worry, soon you will join them, she said. No! She screamed as she closed her eyes in fear. Don't hurt her, a voice said, causing her to open her eyes. She widened her eyes when she saw Tsukun hit Ishigami in the head with a broom. Tsukun? What are you doing here? Omot asked, surprised, but it looked like he didn't hear her. I don't know who you think you are, but I won't let you hurt her, he said through gritted teeth as he tried to pull the snakes off Omot. Such a nuisance, Ishigami hissed. Tsukun, get away before you're turned into stone. Omot pleaded, but he wasn't about to leave her alone. I won't leave you alone, Omot-san. No matter what, I won't leave my friend, he declared. You stupid little boy, I will not let you get in the way of my art, Ishigami said with narrowed eyes as she sent a few snakes after him. Tsukun! Omot cried, scared for the safety of her friend. Tsukun expected pain, but it never came. He looked around and saw the snakes that were lunging at him, and the ones that were wrapped around Omot severed in half while a few shuriken were embedded in the wall. I'd appreciate it if you'd stay away from my friends, Naruto said as he leaned against the door. Naruto! Omot and Tsukun said in relief. Tsukun was acting a little weird, so we decided to investigate, he explained. You have a lot of nerve endangering my sister in such a way, Yura said coldly as she appeared by Naruto. Tsukun smiled in relief but noticed her Rosario was already off. Naruto must have done it before they arrived. Yura-chan, you're here too, Omot said with a smile. With those two here, there was no way Ishigami would get away with her plans. Of course I came. There was no way I was going to leave you, Yura said with a small smile. Yura Akashiya, another beautiful specimen. I had plans to go after you too, but since you were kind enough to come to me, the art teacher said her snakes going after Yura. If you think I would fall prey to such pathetic tactics, she said as she dodged the snakes gracefully. Before they could even blink, she vanished and reappeared behind her. Know your place, she said, delivering a hard roundhouse kick sending her flying towards Naruto. Rasengan, he said as he slammed the spiraling orb into Ishigami's stomach, sending her crashing through the wall. Well, that takes care of that, Naruto said with a grin. Yes, not only have we saved Omot and Tsukun, but we also solved the missing girl's case, Yura said as she placed her Rosario back on. Looks like you two have had a long day. Why don't we head back to the dorms and call it a night? Naruto suggested, getting nods of agreement from the other two. Next day, Tsukun woke up with a smile. Today was his birthday, and although he had a bit of a falling with Omot, she was still his friend. He was about to leave his room to look for the pink-haired vampire when there was a knock on the door. Wondering who was there, he opened the door and was surprised to see Omote standing in front of him with a smile. But there was also something behind her hidden by a drape. "Good morning, Tsukun," she said brightly. "Hello, Omote-san. What are you doing here?" he asked, confused. Usually he would meet up with his friends, so it was a little odd that Omote would come to his room. "I just wanted to say happy birthday," she said, shocking him. She remembered, he thought before smiling. "Anyway, I have a gift for you," she said, dragging whatever she had with her into the room. She removed the drape, revealing a painting of him. "What is this?" he asked, surprised. The painting was very well done. Omote blushed a little as she began to explain. "In exchange for being Ishigami-sensei's model, she gave me painting lessons. Sorry about being a little distant, but I really wanted to finish this in time. I hope you like it," she told him. Tsukun was silent as he absorbed her words until a full-blown smile appeared on his face. "Thank you? This is it, confess your feelings to her." "Omote-san, there's something I have to tell you," he started. "Yes?" Omote asked, tilting her head a little. Tsukun swallowed the lump in his throat. Tsukun stared at her for a moment before he slowly leaned towards her. Omote unconsciously leaned closer to him as well, her eyes locked with his. "Hello," he started, but suddenly the door was kicked open, causing them to jump back, their faces burning red. "Happy birthday, Tsukun!" Naruto shouted as he barged into the room. He blinked when he saw the two of them so flustered. "Do you think we interrupted something?" Naruto asked. Yura looked at the two of them before glaring at Tsukun. "I'm sure there was nothing to interrupt. Tsukun knows he would be in a great deal of trouble if there was, right, Tsukun?" Yura asked as Tsukun nodded his head frantically. Good, she may have accepted the fact that he was friends with Omote, but nothing more. "In the end, I still couldn't confess. Oh well, at least I still have some great friends," Tsukun thought with a smile as he watched his friends smiling happily as they began to celebrate his birthday.